Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar with a great guest today with Randy Flowers. He's most well known for playing with Meat Loaf for the almost 20 last years of his life. Super cool guy out of Nashville, session player up there. And I want to just thank our mutual friend, Chris, the Animal Cotros, for hooking us up. Chris has been very kind to me as far as helping me out with the show and referring people, and I really appreciate his support. So thanks, Chris. And another good one. All right. Cliff notes on Randy's best known for his almost 20-year relationship with Meat Loaf as both his studio and touring guitarist. He's also played with Bread, classic rock band, great band, Lorrie Morgan, Wynonna Judd, Adam Lambert, and Beth Hart, who was also a guest here on the show 6-8 months ago. Randy played on Beth's award-winning album Bang Bang Boom Boom, which no blowing smoke up anybody's rear, but it's honestly one of my favorite Beth Hart records.
No kidding.
No, it really is. And part of the reason is the guitar playing was phenomenal on that, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Really good.
I was very proud of that. Had a great time doing that.
Yeah, you did a great job on that.
Of course, Joe Bonamassa was on that too. So there was one solo that wasn't me.
So that's all right. Currently, Randy's doing a lot of session work in Nashville. Recent projects include working on Beth Hart's new album being produced by Kevin Shirley. When is that coming out?
I don't know. It should be. We finished it. Well, we finished it in February, so I thought it would be out by now, but it's probably very soon.
Okay, awesome.
Can't wait to hear it.
Is there a title, or can you not say?
I actually don't know it. If there is one, but it's going to be great. I know that much.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Randy's also touring with Celebrating Meat Loaf, which is a Meat Loaf featuring, it's basically members of Meat Loaf's touring band, along with American Idol winner Caleb Johnson. He just came back from doing 6-8 dates in London.
We did 6 dates in the UK. Yeah.
Very cool.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
You probably, well, we'll get into this. You've probably been all over the world, so that's probably like not a
pretty,
yeah,
pretty much. I've been just about everywhere except Japan. I've never gotten to tour in Japan somehow.
Really?
But, yeah. But I've been everywhere, all over Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, just all over the place.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
very
except
cool.
Japan.
Except Japan.
Except Japan.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah.
So your dad played guitar, and you started playing at a very young age, and you eventually started studying classical guitar at around age 13. How did that all come about?
Well, there was just, I'm not sure if this guitar was just up in the attic and my dad brought it down at some point. It was an old Hagstrom, like a Strat style, baby blue Hagstrom thing. And it had all these weird
I didn't know they made those style guitars. I didn't know Hagstrom made Strat style guitars.
I didn't either, but that's kind of what I got started on. It had all these weird switches like you would see on a, like on the Fender Mustangs or Jaguar, or, all this. So yeah, that was laying around. It was meant to, my older brother Scott was playing it, and it was meant for him actually, but he would be out and about on, he's 5 years older, so he'd be out and about all the time. And so I would sneak in his room, grab it, and just learn. I just played constantly. It was, I had put on records, slow down the records half speed and learn as much as I could. And, yeah, where am I going with this?
No, that's it. That's what. So was your parents supportive of you getting involved in music then?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's really cool.
They were very cool with it. Actually they took me to a music store when I was around 12 or 13 and I met this classical teacher named Nelson Ramirez, a classical guitar teacher. And my parents got me studying with this guy when I was 13, and I'd learned so much from that guy. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I did that for probably 3 or 4 years of classical lessons before.
That's a lot of training.
It was a lot of training. Yeah.
Very cool.
I learned so much in that period of time. Yeah.
So in your bio, you had this there, which I found interesting. It said, after leaving college, Randy embarked. This is like I feel like I'm David Attenborough reading a document.
I know, it's
funny. After
though.
leaving college, Randy embarked on a transformative journey, touring extensively alongside your brother, Jerry, and Cuban singer Manuel Ballina, which is where you got your 10,000 hours. What's that? Oh, Ballina. Okay.
Ballina, yeah.
I was pronouncing it actual Spanish, so.
Yeah. Oh, that makes, maybe it is Ballina. Yeah, that's
Ballina. Yeah, 2 L's together is like a.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was an American. But if you met him in Elkview.
It wasn't. Well, it was in Charleston, West
He
Virginia.
might not have known it. He might not have known that himself. To be honest with you, I remember point. I'm in Florida, and I grew up in the Bronx. So
that's a good point.
And that's where you got your basically 10,000 hours of practice. And so, like you said, after college, where'd you go to college?
I went to West Virginia State for like maybe 2.5 years. And I was a music major there, and I gave it my best shot, but I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun, and I played in bands in college and all that, and met some people that I'm still working with today.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, that's great. But I did not finish. Some road opportunities came calling.
That's like extremely common. I mean, that happens to like 50% of musicians in college, and then they leave. Even if they're like in Berkeley, it's like, hey, I got a call to go play on the road. I'm out.
Exactly, because you're kind of like, well, isn't that what this education is about? To get out and do it. Otherwise,
well, I could sit here in a classroom for another 18 months, or I could actually go on the road and do this shit.
Right. Yeah, and that's the way we looked at it. And by we, I mean it was my brother and our best buddy John Dederick. We kind of came up our whole careers together.
Now, your brother, what does he play? Is he a professional musician?
He is. He's a professional. Yeah, he's a bass player with Keith Urban.
Oh yeah,
and
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a great. He's a very talented guy.
So the two kids got into, and your dad was not a professional musician. He just had this guitar.
Not at all.
Wow. So something was in the genes, though.
It's something. Yes, my parents. My dad kind of plays a little bit, but he's a kind of a mechanic type of person. Like he works on heavy machinery. His hands weren't meant for
guitars. Yeah.
Right. So it kind of. I hear that my grandparents had some musical ability. So yeah, somehow it skipped a generation and it became a passion for Jerry and myself. So he's a very successful, like I said, he's been in Keith Urban's band since 1995 or something like that. They were in an original band together called The Ranch, and they put out one record, and then that disbanded, and Keith went on to do a solo thing, and then Jerry started touring with him sometime in the early 2000s. But yeah, he's a successful songwriter right now. He's had like 4 number 1 hits on the country charts in the past.
Really? That's awesome.
3 or 4 years. Yeah.
That's something. Let me ask you this though. Both of you had careers with big acts, international acts for a huge period of time. That's not heard of. For one, just things happen. People change, a new manager, comes on, or, hey, you need a new direction, or, the wife says, oh, you don't like this guy, or, whatever.
Right.
What do you think? That's interesting that both of you. So how do you think, like, you not hung on, because that sounds like it was like,
well,
but how do you think you stayed on that Meat Loaf gig for that long? And it was there like I'm just curious now that you told me your brother, is there a similarity in the thing that you feel may have helped to him?
Well, I really don't know the answer to that, except, we are both kind of, we're funny guys and have good personalities, I think. And people seem to enjoy being around us.
Well, you must be easy to get along. You must have an easy demeanor to stick around for that long as well. Like flexible.
I think that must be the case. Because I've thought about that recently, actually. Like, how did I stick around that long? Because in the actual years of touring with Meat Loaf was 2003 until 2016 or something like that. So in that time, I saw so many people come and go.
Yeah.
Either get fired or quit or whatever. I think mainly is, some people might disagree with this, but I kind of just did my job and didn't get involved in too much drama. And I think I didn't get too big-headed and ask for too much money. A lot of people kind of ask for more money each leg or each year. And I guess I stayed at a level where it was kind of like he just liked what I did, and just every tour that came up, he called me again, which I was very grateful for. It was it was really cool.
That's
because
great, man.
Yeah, he wasn't. It's in America. He's not as well known, but like I had mentioned, like in the UK and all over Europe and Australia, he's just huge. He's like Bruce Springsteen or something.
So they knew the songs beyond, like you can go to those countries and play deep tracks and people be singing.
Oh yeah, big time.
Wow. Okay.
Big time. Yeah, and play much larger venues. Like the last tour we did, he played the O2 Arena, which is like the biggest arena in London that I know of.
That had to be fun, right?
It was great. Yeah. It was amazing.
That's really cool, man. That's a great arena.
That's awesome.
Okay, 1993, you moved to Nashville. You're just a kid.
Yeah. Well, it's 22 or 23.
That's kid.
That's a kid. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That's a kid.
Yeah.
That's a kid for sure. I mean, especially at this age for me now.
Oh, I know. I know.
But what prompted that move, and how did you get your career started there? Because it is definitely not easy to do, especially back then in that time frame.
Right.
It was a little more cliquish, I think, and
absolutely. Yeah, and well, I think it was just blissful ignorance, right? Like we didn't know what we were getting into. We were just kind of like, it was.
Oh, Jerry moved with you.
Yes, it was my brother Jerry and our buddy John Dedrick, keyboard player.
The guy from the Manuel gig.
Exactly. Like yes, he went on to become. He played with the Dixie Chicks, Michael McDonald, Kathy Griffin, like just a long list of.
Is that how you met
names.
Chris?
I met Chris
because Kathy Griffin didn't he used to play with Kathy Griffin?
Well, it was Patty.
No, it was Patty.
Patty Griffin
Patty Griffin. It was
right. I don't know how I can't remember meeting Chris. But we anyway. I lost my train of thought.
Moving to Nashville.
It was in moving to Nashville. Yes. So I had totally forgotten about this until this interview thing came up. We were playing with some like kind of a female country artist. She was trying to get a record deal, and we made this little demo tape with this girl. I think her name was Amanda Thomas. So we were her backing band, and somehow we had in mind that we were going to move to Nashville and help her, get a record deal and all that.
Yeah.
And then we moved here, and kind of everybody went their separate ways. That all fizzled out, and then we just kind of ended up doing our own thing.
How did you get gigs when you first got there?
Well, I had a friend working in a restaurant called Dalt's Grill, and I got a job there because
got to pay the bills, man.
Exactly. So
it's not like
tables.
Hey, I'm here, Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, not at all. And the way I showed up with I had like maybe two guitars and one little tiny PV Bandit amp. And I thought that's fine, isn't it? Yeah, I'm ready to do sessions or whatever.
But you can do that with two guitars if you
can. I guess so.
I guess so.
But I didn't know. I didn't have any pedals. I didn't know nothing. Oddly enough, side note, that little amp is in the I don't know if it's still there, but it was in the Country Music Hall of Fame
PV Bandit
display. Yes, because Keith Urban borrowed it from me and ended up never giving it back. He used it on his first record.
That's wild.
And it's on display down there at the at the.
Should we make a big stink of that, like here on this show, to get your amp back?
Well, it's funny. I ran into him at a party a few years ago, and that's the first thing he said to me. He was like, "I'm going to get that amp back to you at some point."
Oh, that's so funny. That's actually pretty cool that he said that. Even if it was just funny. Joking and lighthearted,
he was totally
really
joking.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny. I play a PV Delta Blues. It's an amazing amp. It's a little older. It's like from the early 2000s.
Oh yeah.
It's a buddy of mine had told me to get this. Actually, do you know who Dave Amato is from REO Speedwagon?
Dave Amato. No, I don't.
Anyway, he was in town and he likes, he's got massive gear problems, acquisition problems. And he says, Craig, you gotta, it was my wife and I we went to the concert and we were like after the show eating pizza or something like that in the room. And he's like, Craig, I saw this amp at, I think it was Sam Ash maybe in Clearwater. And he goes, it's a JCM 800. It's a vintage amp. You gotta buy it. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm like, well, I got this PV I love. And I'm also trying to be, guitar gear isn't inexpensive. And I'm, my wife's there and I'm trying to, I got enough. I'm like,
yeah.
And so my wife says, she goes, Craig, if Dave's recommending you buy that amp, you should just go buy it. I'm like,
yeah,
I love you so much. That was like so cool. And I bought it and I wound up selling it. It's just,
oh, no kidding.
That PV Delta blues amp is just for me, for my style, what I play is blues. It's just phenomenal.
Is it a solid state amp or is it? It's a
tube amp, 30 watt. And the reason why it's so awesome is it's a 15-inch speaker.
Interesting. Okay.
It's 30 watts and it gets so much headroom with that. And, it's got 2 channels. It's got a master volume. So you can really get some great overdrive and you don't have to like crank it super high. It's
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So sorry, I didn't mean that, but I don't know the bullet. I don't know the bullet though.
It was called a Bandit actually.
Oh, the Bandit.
It's a little tiny 112 solid state amp, and it's for some reason it just sounded great. There was something special about this one. Yeah. So yeah, I used that for as long as I could until Keith took it from me. And
that's funny. I'm gonna get you that amp back. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I doubt it's the actual one behind, on display down there because it's.
Yeah, I wouldn't think. You'd think it'd be like a facsimile or whatever they call it.
I think it is. I think it's just a copy. But anyway, that was a side note thing. What was like?
The question was, so how'd you get gigs when you first started?
Oh, okay. So I was, my first meetings with people came through this restaurant where I was working. I was waiting tables and these regulars would come in, quite often. And it turns out they were musicians and worked at a studio called Hummingbird Studios where they did jingles and commercials. Yeah. And
very popular studio.
Okay, cool. And then they said, I talked to them over several times over several weeks, and they said, bring a demo tape down to the studio, and we'll see what we can do. And I did. I had some kind of cassette. I don't know what I would have had on it. Like it might have been like me playing.
Eruption.
Maybe Eruption. It was probably more like, I think I had Somewhere Over the Rainbow on there or something like that. Or
you know what, man, that is such a beautiful song. I love that.
It
song.
Really is.
It's
gorgeous.
Did you hear the? I'm sure you heard the Is. The Hawaiian guy is.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. My God, that's like I brings tears to my eyes every time I hear that. It's such a beautiful, beautiful rendition of that song.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, so I learned a version of that when I was a young man, and it's one of those kind of, it's my go-to, like if you want to be impressed when I have an acoustic guitar, because it's got all kinds of, I'm using like the harp harmonics and all kinds of crazy things, and
so it's like closer to the. You ever heard? I think it was like Michael Lee Firkins or something.
Michael Lee Firkins. I'm not
somebody like a guitar player did that on one of their albums.
Oh, was it Tuck Andrus, perhaps?
I'm going to look that up right now because it's like an amazing version of that song.
Yeah.
Let me see if I could find this. How the hell do you find it?
Wait, I've got a guitar right here, so I'll give you a sample.
Good.
So it was all this stuff like.
Oh, you know what? You can't play too much of it. They won't allow it.
Oh, right. Well, I won't play the actual song, but like.
Yeah.
All that kind of. All those kind of harp harmonics.
Dude, that's so nice, man. It sounded great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't think about the actual. Can't play the actual song.
Well, it's just that YouTube won't. They're like,
yeah,
hey man, who's got publishing?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so you hooked up with these guys. You played them in a demo tape, and they said, "Hey, come down and start doing some sessions."
Yeah.
with
So
us?"
exactly. So I ended up doing lots of. I don't know what you call them, jingles now, or what do
Yeah.
you call them? Is it still?
Well,
Jingles?
back in the day, they were called jingles.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of just working at the restaurant on weekends and doing jingles all week. And
That's awesome.
you got some like National Coke commercials and stuff like that. I think I did a National Pepsi thing. So for me, coming from Elkview, West Virginia, which Pinch, West Virginia, it was like, wow, I'm on a National Coke commercial. This is badass. And
you get performance on that, performance royalties.
Yeah, I don't remember what the situation was. I wasn't singing on it. I think I wrote one of them, but it wasn't anything to write home about,
Yeah.
But I thought it was going to be. I thought that it was going to be like, some fun mailbox money, but I don't think it was.
Guys, today's episode is brought to you by Lewitt Microphones. And for a limited time, Lewitt is giving Everyone Loves Guitar listeners 20% off any microphone in their catalog, including their top-end mics. Now, I've been testing this cool-looking Lewitt LCT 440 Pure for the last few months, and it's outstanding. And if you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Lewitt, you can see my review of this microphone, as well as some other professional recording artists' reviews of two of Lewitt's most popular microphones, as well as get your 20% discount code. The mics come with a 30-day guarantee and a 1-year warranty, so there's absolutely no risk involved here. Just go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Lewitt, Lewitt, to get your discount code and to check out some short videos with in-depth information to see what recording and performing with Lewitt mics is like. Well, maybe they had a different maybe they just you were work for hire under their terms of the contract.
It might have been, yeah. And it was national radio. It wasn't like, I don't think it was a national.
It wasn't like NBC
campaign.
Or something.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But it was still a big deal to me at the time.
Yeah, it should be. It was a big deal.
23. Yeah.
Yeah. Very
so
cool.
So through that studio, met a lot of people that kind of led to a lot of other things. For example, that's where, not to bring up Keith Urban again, but that's where one of the producers there said, "Hey, I've got this Australian guy just came to town. He's looking for a bass player for his band," and that was Keith Urban. And that's when my brother started playing with him back in like 93 or 94. And that's
crazy, man. And
it's crazy.
And like 94, who's Keith Urban? Nobody knows.
Exactly.
That's so amazing, man.
Yeah. So
that's that trajectory, and that's the story. Those always blow me away. Nobody started out. I had this card somewhere, like some motivate. It's a greeting card I bought.
Right.
I think I bought it from my middle child, my younger son,
mm-hmm.
and I still have it here. And it said something like, "Always remember all these great musicians and artists and sports figures and yada yada. They didn't start like that."
Right.
Something like that. It's just like, hey man, keep going, because he's older and he's going to college later in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I always get him stuff like that. But it's so true, man. Nobody's Keith Urban. Like, who's Keith Urban back then,
Exactly. But it's funny though, at that time he was nobody. He was just playing in clubs and stuff, but he was still a star to me. Like, he had that, I knew he was a star, and he had that vibe even back then, even in small clubs.
In what way? So, like what?
I can't explain it. I just knew he just had that thing where he was already a great performer, and it was just like, that guy's a star, and I just thought of him as a star from the time I first met him back in '94. And I don't
really comfortable being the center of attention and in front of crowds.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and. Yeah, because it was very odd for country at the time. They were a 3-piece band. It was called the Ranch, and so it was just bass, drums, and guitar. So it was very different for Nashville at that time.
Yeah.
So they really stood out, and but unfortunately, it didn't work I don't think it worked in the radio world at that time because it was so different. But anyway,
and radio dictated everything back in that day.
I think so. Yeah. So I've gone off on 3 Keith Urban side notes. So
It's all right, man.
So,
Relax. Everything's
I
good.
need to talk
man.
about myself here. Hello.
Yeah, I know. That's the issue. See, we can't talk
Yeah.
about. We could talk about why you don't want to talk about yourself.
That's right. That's what I'm doing. I'm deflecting, aren't I?
Yeah, you're
that's-
deflecting. That's all right. You
yeah.
know what though? You'll be comfortable. Like by the bottom of page 1, you'll be like.
I think
right on track.
it's getting a little easier because it is very hard knowing that this is going to be listened to. Like what I'm saying is going to be somebody's going to listen to this.
Hey, if they listen to me, believe me, they'll have no problem listening to you. I assure you.
Oh, come on.
Trust me on that.
Come on.
So I guess shortly after that, David Gates from the band Bread hired you to do a small tour with him.
Yes.
How did he get in? Like, how did that?
I was trying to remember how this happened. And again, it's going to, I think Keith Urban's name will come up again. So somehow David Gates came into, like, he was working with the same publishing company or something that Keith was. And he asked around the publishing company if they knew a guitar player, and somehow my name came up. I don't know if Keith did it. It was in
or
there
maybe
somewhere.
your brother or whatever.
Maybe my brother, right. And I went and auditioned and I got that. And so we did just a bunch of kind of solo acoustic things with a 10-piece string section. Like
10-piece,
around
okay.
Yeah. And
that's an unusual gig.
It was unusual. Yeah.
For like a classic rock guy.
Yeah. It's almost, I guess they're kind of in the soft rock kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But beautiful songs, great, wonderfully written songs. And they're not, it's funny. They just haven't held up in the history books as well as they should have. Because the songs are
Bread?
great.
Oh, and his
Bread,
voice.
yeah.
His voice.
His voice is great. And he wrote all the songs. Well, he didn't write all the songs. He wrote him. He was Jimmy Griffin wrote the other half, but he did actually wrote all the string parts himself and would rehearse the string section himself. And but anyway, very talented writer and musician. I learned so much from that guy. And yeah, so yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, that's it. Just I think you were about to ask the question. Then it led to the
yes, yeah, okay. So that led to you becoming lead guitarist on when Bread got back together, the reunion tour.
Yes, the Bread reunion tour, 96, 97.
How was that?
Yeah, it was great because that was really my first time of really seeing the world. It was an actual world tour. They did, of course, all of America, and then the UK, and so I think we did some of Germany and stuff like that. But it was South Africa.
Oh my God.
Australia. So when I was 25, 26, something like that, and that was pretty cool for me.
Yeah,
yeah,
it'd be cool for anybody.
Yeah, it was amazing,
Shit.
And it was my first taste of like that, old rock and roll money. It really it paid very well.
Yeah, sure.
For that time for me, and it was an awesome experience. So it was just kind of 2 years straight of traveling all over the world and playing these beautiful songs with a 10-piece. I think it was only 10-piece. It might have been 15 in some places, but it was a string section that they would pick up in every city. And David,
that's a lot of work for him to like. It's one thing you like Chuck Berry and you pick up a rhythm section, but like, you're picking up a 10. That's a lot of mouths, brains to manage.
Absolutely. And to rehearse, we'd have to rehearse the string players as well as do a sound check for the whole band and all that.
Oh my God. So that was a pretty intense tour.
It was. And it was just, I was so new and just having the time of my life. I was just having a great time. I was loving it. Unfortunately, I started off, not unfortunately, but I started with like touring outside of Nashville, which is totally different. Like a 70s rock group tours a totally different way than a Nashville act does and did. And when I came back from that tour, I ended up getting a job with kind of a big country singer at the time named Lorrie Morgan. Lorrie Morgan.
Lorrie Morgan. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like the total opposite way of doing things. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, like it was just more regimented and much more low key, I would imagine.
Definitely more low key. And it was, instead of hopping on a plane and going somewhere going on tour for a month or 6 weeks, you'd drive over to, I can't remember where the bus met, but you'd meet the bus someplace at like a Kroger or a Publix or whatever, at midnight on Thursday, and then you would go on the bus and go play shows Friday and Saturday, and then bus home Sunday, and then hop in your car and drive back home. It's just a
that must be such a bummer.
I know
where's the plane? Right. I don't get this. Yeah.
Which hotel room is mine? And they're like, you're sharing that one with with that dude.
That's the downside of having such a great, like
a great start,
a marquee band, like to kind of break your musical touring cherry or something like that.
Exactly. So it was kind of, I guess it was kind of, how do you say that? Like, it would almost better if I didn't know that level first.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it, because you expect everything to be like that. You're like, hey, where's your plane?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was different. So then I did the country touring thing for about 3 or 4 years. Before.
So if somebody asked you, how do you like Nashville in 1997, and then someone asked you, how do you like Nashville in 2001, you'd have been like, well.
Yeah, exactly.
In 97, like, fucking awesome, man. It's great here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. As long as I'm not in the Nashville music side of it, it's great.
I hear you.
But actually, it's funny you mentioned the 90s. Nashville was so simple back then. Like, I don't know if you've been to Nashville recently, but it's
I was there about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so it's basically the same.
So it's so crowded there. It's like Orlando, man. I just cannot believe the traffic.
I know, it's insane. It's insane,
really. And like I've read articles about it, like about how the infrastructure wasn't kind of like Tampa, but they did a lot of planning in advance here to support it, but it wasn't meant to support that number of people, whether it's water, utilities, everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's really the growth is not, the infrastructure not keeping up with the growth. It's not possible.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You can definitely see that on the roads.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm used to it. It's fine.
Hey, so I'm going to talk about some of artists you work with, Randy. Tell me how you wound up first connecting with them, and if you have a cool or interesting story about your experience working with them. So let's start with Wynonna Judd. You worked with her for 2 successful tours and the live concert DVD, Scenes from a Lifetime. How did you hook up with her, and any cool stories about working with her?
Well, that was actually, it just came out of nowhere. I had already done this was about 2004, I think. I'd already done a year-long tour with Meat Loaf. I'd done a tour called Couldn't Have Said It Better in 2003. And I think, it was a full-on year-long tour. Then we took a year off, or Meat took a year off. And then pretty much soon after I got home from the Meat Loaf tour, I randomly got a call from Wynonna Judd's people. They were going to audition 5 guitar players the next day, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Because
how did they get your name? Do you even know?
It was through a guitar player named Tony O'Brada. Had just seen my brother and I. It was another side note we haven't gotten into yet, but we had our own band where we were like we made a record and we almost got a record deal. One of those stories. But Tony had seen us playing around town.
Was he playing with Wynonna?
He was, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he Very cool. So he referred you to that.
Right. He just said, call this guy and see if he's available. And like I said, I had 1 day. So I went the next day and auditioned. They gave me like 5 songs, and I showed up the next day, and somehow I got it. And so I
songs the day before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Were they her songs or just?
They were her songs. Yeah. So
you got to learn 5 songs overnight. That's not an easy.
It wasn't easy, but that's one thing.
Plus,
about
with the pressure of, it's not. It's one thing if you're learning it for your cover band.
Right.
But it's like you're learning it for an audition that and it's like, wow, now there's only 22 hours left. Fuck, I got to get on. And like that time goes quick.
I do remember it being kind of. Yeah, it was kind of like, damn, this is a quick little window here, but I think I just didn't think much about it. It was like learning songs. Being in Nashville, working with all these people, like you kind of just, I can hear a song once and kind of know it.
Wow, so, that's why you're in Nashville, because you got that caliber of retention and performance on your instrument.
I guess so, and I know several people that could do that. I just worked like that's a lot of the session guys I just worked on the Beth Hart record with were the same way. You could just hear a song one time, chart it out, and know it basically. Now, of course, like all the little details, little guitar parts, like I have to kind of go in and give that a listen. But
you're not expected to know that at that level after just for audition. It's 24 hours notice.
Yeah, you kind of you are. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was expected to, at least I think so. Like they kind of expect to hear the songs as they want to hear them, and or at least like they were on the record. So far in Nashville.
Interesting. I didn't realize.
Meat Loaf was not like that. He was just kind of like, just do your thing, like do the signature parts of the songs, of course, but solos and all that, he was just like, I don't care, do whatever you want. But,
you be you.
Yeah, mostly in Nashville, it's kind of like most of the time they want you to play the whatever was on the record.
Yeah, note for note in Nashville. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
which is fine until like, well, Brent Mason did this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Dan Huff or something like that.
Then it's
like, I need Dan another Huff. Day.
I love that guy's playing.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, some can be very challenging. Yeah.
So you had an overnight audition. Anything memorable or interesting or cool story from your time with her?
Let's see. Nothing's really jumping out that much, except that we did do a concert DVD called "Her Story: Scenes from a Lifetime," and I guess I was able to, somehow, looking back on it, I don't know how I did this, but I juggled touring with Meat Loaf and Wynonna for about 2 years. I don't know how I did it. Yeah,
that's pretty.
Yeah, somehow.
Oh, man, you must have been. The problem is to get steady bread like that as a musician.
Yeah,
it's not a big deal to juggle that. It's more of like, I would assume like, hey, it's tough, but I'm really grateful that I can do that. To have all this work.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't think I knew how lucky I was at the time.
Oh, you're younger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just thought, well, this is the way it is. Yeah.
Right.
But so at some point I had to choose one or the other, or maybe she just, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think maybe her thing just kind of came to an end. She stopped touring, and then I just went back to Meat full time. But it somehow it all worked out where I'd do a 6-week meat tour and then come home and she'd have shows. It somehow worked out. I don't know how.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Well, talk about Meat then. You started touring with him in 2003. You were with him when he passed in 2022. You played guitar and sang background vocals on 5 of his albums and 3 live DVDs. God knows how many world tours. How did you first connect with him?
That was pretty random. back to my brother and I, but again, the same characters.
And Keith Urban.
Yeah, exactly. Keith Urban. He wasn't in on this one, but it was this guy named Pat Thrall. Have you heard of the guitar player Pat Thrall?
Yeah, from Pat Travers band, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My brother and myself, we were playing in this. I think it might have been that Manuel Bolina, the Cuban guy. We were playing in this club in Charleston, West Virginia, playing whatever, cover songs for that were popular at the time, which would have been like 1989, 90. And Curtis Steiger was in town, and the band was staying at the hotel where we were playing. We were playing like a hotel lounge or something. And Pat Thrall was playing guitar for Curtis Steiger at the time. So somehow he was impressed with us enough to he got our information, and we stayed in touch with Pat Thrall for years. And when we did have put our band thing together, our own solo project, Pat Thrall produced it. And
okay. When the three of you guys. Yeah.
Right. So we made a record with Pat in around 2000. And in 2003,
what's that record called? Is that still like, can people download that on?
Right now, it's so funny. It's not out anywhere right now. It's called If Only for a While, and the band's called Pinch. But we're going to re-release it somehow, because it still holds up today, oddly enough. It's really good.
You should, because
music.
It doesn't, and it doesn't cost you anything to put it on streaming.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time, but we just, everybody's doing different things, and we'll get around to it sometime this year, probably.
Good.
But yes, Pat basically threw my name in the hat, and it was for, the position was a kind of a utility guy, playing keyboard first and then guitar second. And I'm kind of like,
but what is Pat's relationship with Meat Loaf?
I'm sorry, I left that part out. Pat toured with Meat Loaf throughout the 90s. Actually,
he was his guitar player.
He was Meat's guitar player during that, when Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That came out.
Yeah,
like in 94 or something like that. Like when Meat had his huge resurgence, Pat Thrall was playing guitar. And I'm not sure how long he was in the band. Probably throughout the entire 90s, 7 or 8 years or something. And so yeah, Pat threw my name in the hat, and then I flew to New York to audition, and they told me they had packed for 6 weeks, but you might be going home the next day, like if you don't get it. So,
I have some good news and some not so good news.
Right. So if it works out,
oh my
great.
God.
So it was, as
not
you can
too
imagine,
much pressure.
I know.
Get your shit out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think Pat Thrall had kind of.
So it sounds like Pat, like you had this thing. There wasn't like 5 people auditioning. It was just you.
There were about 5 people.
Oh, there were. Okay.
Yes. And, but I think I was so highly recommended by Pat that
he was with him for if he was with him for almost a decade, I
might be wrong about the length of time.
It was a hell of a recommendation.
Yeah, it was very cool of him to do. Actually, he might have thrown in my brother's name first, because the position was a keyboard thing mainly, and then Jerry said, "What? I think Randy would be more suited for that." So yeah.
So you played keys back then?
I played keys, yeah, and of course I kind of stretched the truth a little bit. They were like, can you play "Bat Out of Hell" on keyboard? And I was like, absolutely. And I'd never even heard the song. Somehow.
Right. That's so funny. Everybody does that, man. Everybody does that to get gigs. And then you then you learn it afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very strange. Like I was, all of a sudden I'm up here playing, like my second gig with him. I was at Hyde Park in London.
Oh my God.
Playing keyboard in front of 120,000 people. It was like this thing where like Beyonce was right after us, and then it was like just a crazy huge lineup. So I'm like, I'm sitting here playing keyboards in front of 120,000 people. This is insanity.
How did that feel?
It felt great. It was so cool. So I loved it. But I played guitar as well, so I was doing like half and half guitar, and it was I loved going back to the keyboard and like having something to lean on and someplace to hide behind, so I dug it. But after the first tour, Meat was like, I think Paul Crook, the other guitar player, was like, this is kind of ridiculous. Why is Randy playing keyboard? He's my talent.
So he just like, you're being wasted because your talent as a guitar player.
Right. He was so
the way
so he made
over.
It like right.
But Meat's like, but I only have to pay one salary.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's why.
Right. Now I should say that I was the second keyboard player. Like I was the
because yeah. All right.
Yeah, Mark Alexander was the real keyboard player, like that played all the real stuff. I was just doing like all the,
So you didn't really need a utility. A keyboard. Another. Really. You don't really have, unless you're like Chicago. I mean, not even them, but unless you're doing some jazz gig where you got one guy playing,
right,
vibes or something like, or actual piano, another guy playing electric piano or Leslie or something.
Yeah, it was kind of overkill. I was doing like organ stuff and I think triggering samples and things like that if there were any kind of noise things. But I think these days
that's automatic.
Everything's on tracks and all that.
Yeah.
So this was a little bit before that, I guess. But yeah, so anyway, I just did that for maybe 6 months or so playing keyboard. Then it was like, let's make this a 2-guitar shredding band. So
great.
So Paul Crook, the other guitar player, he came from Anthrax. He was in.
I was going to say, I know that name from somewhere.
Yeah, great guitar player. Totally different style than I play, but somehow we just worked really well together, and it became this guitar shredding thing that Meat loved to use all the time.
Yeah,
every song had like, Paul, you take a solo, then do a chorus, and then Randy solo time. So just lots and lots of guitar.
That's awesome.
Live. It was fun.
How long did Paul last in that band?
Paul, the entire time. He started a few months before I did at the end of 2002, and same with me. We worked the entire time, all the way.
That's phenomenal. So you guys must have had really incredible chemistry musically and then vibe wise to support all that.
I guess so. Because
I mean, come on. I mean, nobody's last that long, especially the bigger the act is, the more. I don't mean this in the wrong way, flakier they get, and
yeah, absolutely,
and more people around them whispering in their ear, and
absolutely,
this guy doesn't look good in green, and that's so important for the show,
right? No, I found it they're all insane. I think if you're a certain amount of fame, you're going to go insane, right? Like I don't think humans are really meant to be put on that kind of pedestal.
Yeah.
Like when you're hearing that you're great all the time,
you have to work to stay grounded, and you have to work to stay grounded.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Yeah, I can't even imagine what it would be at that level, because I've only experienced small little doses of it. Like for example, like when we went back to the UK last week. Sorry, I'm a little. I got a little chest cold going on. There were a few times where people came up to me on the street to get a photo and
really
get an autograph, like from the last time I hadn't toured over there in 10 years. But I was like, what if this happened everywhere you went? Like that would
every day,
everywhere you went. That would be really hard to deal with, or you would just kind of you would go insane.
Yeah, I would imagine that's pretty tough.
Yeah, and
like I said, you've got to work to keep yourself. You like that has to be an active part of your self-awareness routine, man. I think.
I would think if you were at that level, yeah,
because otherwise you just start believing everybody's bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everybody around you is probably on the payroll.
So you have nobody telling you, like everybody's getting right. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
You're paying people and they're afraid, either they don't want to speak up because they're afraid of, getting cut off, getting the gig cut, or they're just, intimidated by their boss, or they're passive aggressive or whatever. It's hard to,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. It's a strange business model where you have like a lot of things that I've been involved in, where it all comes down to one person.
Yeah.
Where if that one person is sick, or if that one person loses their voice or whatever, you don't work.
Right.
Show's canceled. Yeah, not many businesses are like that. Where it's totally...
If Tim Cook at Apple is out for a week, the company doesn't
they carry on,
fold.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
wow, yeah, that is interesting. I never looked at it it is a very unusual thing in that sense.
Yeah. And I bring it up because there have been a few occasions with different artists where you have like the next year of my life was planned, and 2 weeks before the tour starts, everything got canceled. And that's happened to me twice. And
like COVID.
Like that. Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah. That was a whole different thing. What a mess that was, huh?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I actually, nothing, we work at home. My wife's a realtor. So,
okay.
and here in Florida, that was considered an essential occupation. I work at home. So it was kind of like, fortunately for us, it was kind of business as usual.
Yeah.
But it was good. There was just the sense of everything going on. It was like, I was really grateful. My kids are all nearby, they don't live here, but they're all close. So I was, family, the importance of family was, for me, that's what I got out of that.
Sure.
A little more than I'm glad I got that out of that, put it that way.
That's excellent. Yeah. That's great that you were still able to do what you did.
Yeah. Right.
That was a weird time. A lot lot really enjoyed it. Like the whole.
Well, I think a lot of
thing.
people, from a lot of musicians I've spoken to anyway, the fact that they were off the road for the first, hey, this is my first time in some guys 40, 50 years.
Sure. Yeah.
Off the road. And it was like, man, it was so nice to have my life back for a little while. Of course, the financial thing for people was like scary as hell.
That was a little tough. Yeah. Yeah. Having no money coming in for 2 years. Yeah. That's a scary one. That is scary. But that's another thing for any young musicians listening. You definitely want to be prepared for that kind of thing. You want to, have a good year or two set aside.
I think it's great advice.
Yeah, it's almost a necessity, because it's. I've had a few things, like I said, it's happened to me a few times, and if I didn't have this cushion, I'd be in trouble.
You'd be scared to death.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
yeah, to have to worry about that, and financial stress is the worst. I mean, and outside of health, financial stress is like probably the worst stress out there.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's not fun. It's
no,
totally
not at all.
Fun.
Not at all.
So tell me, what was the most crazy sort of like rock and roll story or craziest fan story that happened to while your time with Meat? That happened to you, or that maybe you have observed? Because that was kind of like almost old school rock and roll, his whole sort of thing. I imagine the tours were pretty wild.
It was, yeah. It was. He was surprisingly not so wild. There was no drugs and
really.
Not that I saw.
Interesting.
Not from amazing. Yeah, not from Meat anyway. And he drank a little bit, but it was wild in the sense that the band members, like, at least I'm only speaking for myself, but I took advantage of that lifestyle. It was, as you've heard from guys before, you show up for work, and backstage there's a bottle of vodka, 3 bottles of wine, couple cases of IPAs, some whatever. And so it was a party. And we never did 2 shows in a row. It was always
so you always had the next day off.
Yes. So
that's like a blessing and a curse.
It was exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot of time Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That's unusual. How come he never? Is that what this Meats thing? He didn't want to do 2 shows in a row.
Exactly. He didn't want to do it that way. So say if we had a 10-show run, a lot of people that would mean 2 weeks, but for us that could mean 4 to 5 weeks of being on the road.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
there was too much idle hands at the Devil's Workshop,
right?
Or something like that. Yeah.
Not really, because I think a lot of times we would travel on that day off, so it wasn't like we were totally sitting around in one spot. But sometimes we would hub out of. I was thinking about this today, and that was the kind of rock and roll story that I had the first one I could think of anyway. And it's not that interesting really, but we used to hub out of either London or Manchester, England, and just kind of have a private jet and jump over to Germany, play a show, come back that night.
That's really tough to do a gig after that, a normal gig.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was weird. Like I said, driving over to the Publix,
driving over to Kroger.
Yeah. And
you make me drive, and you're making me, and it's not even a private jet.
Right. I've got to carry my own bag on the bus. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
What?
I'm calling the Attorney General for these labor
right.
violations. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but we did have. I just thought it sounded. It felt like a rock and roll story to have. We had a kind of a plane crash in a private jet coming from Germany to Manchester one day, where the plane went off the runway, like kind of they lost control of the plane, and we skidded off the runway, and they shut down Manchester Airport, and we had to fill out survivor reports and all this kind of thing. So that's kind of rock and roll to me.
That was pretty scary.
It was very scary. I was messed up for probably 5 years. Every time I got on a plane, I got that same feeling again. We were on the runway, but the plane, I don't know what was going on, but it started yawing back. Is that the word, yaw?
I don't know. I don't know anything about
the wings were going up and down, like the plane was just out of control. Somehow the pilots lost brake or something. I don't know. So they had to go off the runway into the grass. So I got that same feeling for years and years every time I landed in a plane.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty scary thing.
It was dramatic. Yeah.
It's not like you tripped off your go-kart or your skateboard. I mean, that's
it was pretty
that's scary.
Pretty scary. Of course, at the time when it happened, after we safely came to a stop, we were all laughing, and the stewardess brought out drinks for everybody, and they're like, "You're gonna need this," but and we're posing for photos with the emergency responders and all that. But then after we saw the priest, and they had to kind of sequester us for a little while in this room, and then wouldn't let us leave, and it's kind of like, I guess this is kind of a big deal. And then the reality of what just happened kind of set in a couple hours later, because so many things could have happened after the plane could have caught on fire or whatever. We could have gone off. There was a ravine about 100 yards from where we stopped. We could have ended up in there. Who knows?
Dude, two words.
It was
Leonard Skinnerd.
There you go.
I mean, that's scary shit.
Very, very.
Wow.
Yeah.
There had to be it must have been some crazy fan stories though, because Meat was so big. And his character was somewhat larger than life.
Yes. Something was going to come to me. It's
like, were women throwing themselves at him constantly, or at the band? I don't know. What was his crowd? What were most of the people in the?
Well, it depended on where we were, but they were definitely a little bit older by the time I joined the band. He was kind of, I guess that would have been, basically a classic rock act at that point, right?
Right.
Like it had been 10 years since he'd had a big hit in America anyway.
Yeah.
And so it was, middle-aged, older crowd. Like it definitely wasn't filled with hot young girls.
Right. Yeah.
There was some of that, but it wasn't like a I don't know, a Backstreet Boys concert or something like
right.
that.
Yeah.
Strange reference, but that was the first boy band I could think of.
Yeah, I don't even know who attracts girls. I mean, I guess like David Lee Roth and Van Halen, but they attract
Justin Bieber,
tons of dudes.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It was funny. I had a guy on the show. I think it was like one of the guys from One Direction. Maybe his broke off, and his guitar player.
Yeah.
And he asked me, because, hey man, I'm coming to your town. Do you want to come? And I said, listen, I don't mean this the wrong way, but no, thank you. It's not really my thing. I said, but if you want to hang out and, meet for coffee or something, that's cool. And I said, but my daughter would love to see that show.
Right.
I said, he goes, great, 2 tickets on the way.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So it was really nice. But I always feel bad telling somebody no, because, but I think most guys get it, right?
Absolutely.
It just may not be my cup of tea, the music wise.
Right. Yeah. A lot of times I'll go ahead and go along and go check it out just because it's a free ticket. Like for example, I had some friends that came through town, some crew buddies that work with Demi Lovato, and it was Demi Lovato and one of the Jonas Brothers. And he said, "You want to come down?" I said, "Okay, why not?" So I went to this.
What? Yeah, but these are like people that establish relationships.
That's true. I've worked with them for years. Yes.
Yeah, true. And the guy was really cool. And nothing to do with him, but I couldn't suffer through that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
I mean, it's just but I knew my daughter would love it. And he
That's
totally
awesome.
got it. I mean, I'd be like, as it is, I'm getting up there when I go to concerts, but like I'd be like everybody's grandfather at that show.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
It's just not fun.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so let's talk about Beth Hart, man. How'd you get hooked up with Beth? Any stories with working with her?
Yeah, that was kind of a Pat Thrall related thing too, in a way. Like I said, Pat produced a record that we made with that I made with my brother and
Pinch.
And
dude, that you can do all kinds of cool things with the logo for that and everything.
It could be cool, yeah. I was against it at the time because, like I said, that was the name of the town that I grew up in.
Oh, is that the name of the town you grew up in? Okay.
Yeah, like I was born in Elkview, then across the river or down the road was Pinch. So, yeah. So, the other two guys in the band thought it would be funny to call it.
I think it's a hilarious name, Pinch.
It is kind of great.
I think it's a very cool name for a rock band, actually.
Oh, thank you so much.
What did you guys play? Was it what kind of music were you playing?
It was kind of it was just kind of pop rock. I guess power pop in a way. Like it was just almost British melodic guitar rock stuff. It still holds up today. Oddly enough, I'll have to. We're gonna put it together and put something. Or re-release it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It was one of those deals. We had lots of big people behind us. We had lots of great talent behind us, and we went to LA and showcased for all the big labels. And it was like we were just that far away. But you hear that story. How often do you hear that?
A lot, unfortunately.
A lot.
And you know what else I hear? That oddly enough, I also hear this a lot. Is like the worst thing that could happen to you is you get a record deal. Like guys that get deals, and it's for whatever reason, it just happens to be a total clusterfuck. And like, they're like, I can't get out of here fast enough. Or, Dan Baird said something, Dan Baird from
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know him personally, but yeah.
He was on the show. He said something really interesting. Georgia Satellites came out with their first album, and the first song on their first record was Keep Your Hands to Yourself.
Okay.
And he said, up until then, everything worked great. He goes, the problem with a band is once you start making money and you're not hungry anymore, everything went to hell. So I've heard, I've heard both sides of that story, and it's unfortunate in either case.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you work so hard for.
Absolutely. Yeah. In our case, we kind of started a little bit later in life with trying to do our own thing. Like Jerry and John they just finished like this big Dixie Chicks world tour that they and we decided to put all these songs together that we've been working on over the years and record them. But anyway, yeah, it was, we didn't have, by that point we were like maybe late 20s, 30s, and you have to really be ready to sacrifice everything. Like we did some of the opening act stuff touring around the country in a van, and that's hard. And when you get an offer from the Dixie Chicks or Meat Loaf or somebody to come out and do this tour for this certain amount of money, it's hard to turn down at that point. And we ended up taking, every member of the band took that road. You know, we ended up taking.
Oh, it's so tough. It's really hard not to. You're like, okay, private plane, really good money, really consistent money, or the van.
Or a van, and like maybe making it, maybe, you know, just, you know,
a van that I have to drive in and sleep in potentially.
Right.
Well.
Exactly.
I'll take option A. Yeah. It's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder I often wonder what would have happened. Like if we did, you know, have like one hit song or something, like what would be happening right now? Like,
well, if you had a lot of, the thing is, if you'd have years, if Pinch had years of like, you know, your the skin in the game you had with that, probably it doesn't sound like it was, I don't mean like you didn't work it, but like as far as the time, you know, if you commit 3 years or something and like, hey, you're seeing growth, you're like, you know what, let's carry out our vision and whatever happens. But this sounds like it was early on, and at early on, it's really hard to like walk away from that.
Right.
You just don't have that much skin in the game at that point where it's like, well, we got to follow this through. Or you're also thinking, hey, we could pick this up after the tour.
Exactly. And then, it's a tough one. But who knows? We might have had like one successful song, and then I, you know, who knows?
Somebody might be covering Pinch tunes today. Who the hell knows?
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. Or we'd be playing a casino somewhere in Idaho.
Yeah,
you know,
in what's that? Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Yeah,
right. Exactly. Yeah.
Beth Hart.
Beth Hart. Yes.
So something with Pat Thrall. You've had Pat Thrall and Keith Urban were like two key figures in your
I keep bringing
musical
that up.
life. Yeah.
Geez. So basically, Pat, like I said, I guess he played some Pinch stuff to Kevin Shirley, the producer,
right?
And so he was kind of familiar with me and blah blah blah. But I was randomly playing at a bar in Nashville with this cover band I play in called Guilty Pleasures, and it's something that I've been doing for about 15 years. And
who's in that?
Just a bunch of other musicians in town. David Mead, John Dederick, Steve Eby. It's a very large band, but they have this huge following of people, and we just play 80s cover songs. It's called Guilty Pleasures.
That's so funny.
So Journey was in town. Kevin Shirley was producing the latest, the Journey record at the time. This would have been like 2011 or something like that. And Jonathan Cain's daughter, somehow, I'm just now thinking of this now. Jonathan Cain and his daughter came to set in with the band. So we played, you know, some of the Journey stuff, like, I can't even think of any the names of the song, like Faithfully and things like that. But with his daughter.
So they came Jonathan to sit Cain's, in with Guilty Pleasures.
Guilty Pleasures. So Jonathan Cain and Kevin Shirley came along, and kind of they stuck around and watched me play with this band. They weren't there to watch me, but I impressed him somehow. And a few months later, he goes, "Yeah, I saw you playing with this band. Thought you'd be great for this Beth Hart record." And it was so it was bang bang boom boom. Yeah. And he flew me out to California along with a guy named Michael Rhodes.
Bass, late. Yeah, of course,
yes.
late.
unfortunately.
Sadly. Yeah.
Very sadly. I was supposed to work with Michael on this. He was scheduled for this last Beth Hart record, actually, but he was ill, and
he was
yeah.
feeling
So anyway, that's very sad. But so yeah, that's how that happened. I don't know if I've wrapped that up.
No, you did. So
Okay.
So you flew out to LA. You guys?
Yes, we went out to LA and stayed for a week. And I don't remember the name of the studio. I think it was Revolver Studio, and but anyway, like in Malibu, I think. But yeah, just 5 days of tracking out there, and knocked it out. It was Anton Fig on drums. So yeah, that was a pretty cool deal for me to get to work with Kevin Shirley and Michael Rhodes and Beth Hart. She's amazing. It was incredible.
Dude,
and
she was great. I had her here on the show. She was one of my favorite guests I had. She
no
really
kidding.
Nice.
She's an awesome person.
Phenomenal. Yeah, really patient, really kind, very open.
She's very open. Yes, and she'll randomly text me, like about stuff from this new record we just did. Like
that's nice.
It's really cool. Like
that's nice.
I just listened to your solo on blah blah blah, and it made me cry, and I played it for this person, and it made them cry, and that anyway. She's very sweet. Like she reaches out, and tells me things. So, yeah, I hope to see her again soon. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
You know what? Now she's had a guy that tours with her.
Yeah, I think she's had the same band for a long, long time.
A blonde guy, and she told me he's been with her for like 20 years at least. So I guess he doesn't do any of the studio work though.
Well, I don't know if they do sometimes. I know the two that I've worked on, they've not been involved, but I don't know. Maybe it depends on which producer,
who the producer is. Yeah,
that's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is Kevin Shirley a Nashville guy? Because that's a Nashville.
No,
he's not.
No, he was never a Nashville guy. He was. I first met him when he was living in Malibu, and then he moved to Australia I'm not sure when, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So he commutes from Australia to Nashville to work on records all the time.
He's Joe's producer, Joe Bonamassa.
That's right, Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
As well as Iron Maiden.
Yeah. What a switch.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
So,
that's how the picture of you and
you mentioned Steve Harris, and maybe that's how that happened. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. But yeah, he's an amazing producer, and he works in such a different way. Like we
in what way?
Like in the sense that we are all in a room together playing live, and there's really not any overdubs. It's kind of like in whatever. I remember on this,
like more old school.
It's very old school. Like if there was a part where I'd play slide on something, and then the next section wouldn't be like I'd take the slide off and then switch, make changes like during. It's totally live, like really a very well recorded live performance.
Do you like that better, or do you like?
I like
not staying in a room together and like.
I some things, there's some magic that can happen in that situation, but also I do like sitting in the control room and thinking about overdubs and things like that, like just really honing in on things. But because with the live stuff,
are you like a perfectionist?
I don't. No, I don't think so.
Okay,
but not with,
because I can see someone who's like a perfectionist, or someone who's got like maybe OCD.
Yeah,
would like that setting better, because it's like, I mean, I've had people tell me this. I know I could have done better. I had in my head, I knew the next take, but they wouldn't do it.
Right, exactly. No, in that way, yes. Like for example, there's a song called what is it called? It's Caught Out in the Rain from Bang Bang Boom Boom, and it's got this big long blues guitar solo, and that was all. I'm sure we just did it a few takes of it, and Kevin probably comp together a few parts. But I
Right.
hear that now and I'm like, why did I do that? I could have done.
Yeah, but that's
so much differently.
But doesn't that happen on almost everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I never listened to my show for that reason.
You know what? I'll probably not be able to listen to this either. Because
I never, because I would just be like, oh my God. I mean, it would be endless, the amount of.
You think so?
For me, yeah, it would be just like self-criticism, and I'd be like, oh, that's so stupid. How did I say that? Or
really, I think I'm very impressed with your abilities. You have a great voice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
You did a great job.
Thanks, man.
But I know what you say. I know what you're saying. Like there's going back and listening to something. The only time if I've sat somewhere and done overdubs until like I thought that's the best idea that I can get, then I'm cool with it forever. But in a situation where it's just like off the cuff, most of the time you're gonna think I could do something. I could have done something a little better there.
Well, I think that's why a guy like Gilmore, nothing he does is really off the cuff.
Is that right?
As far as I've heard, like everything he works out his solos in the studio. Yeah, but they're beautiful. Like
absolutely.
I mean, you can play music like, for me, he's my guy. I don't care where he works. He's out in his bathroom or his studio or off the cuff. I listen to that every day, 24/7.
Sure.
It makes me feel so good.
Yeah. That guy's, what a beautiful lyrical player.
Just mad.
Without being showy or
never.
Yeah.
Never.
To me, that's boring. When somebody's showy, like the not
me too,
that's the wrong word, but
no, I mean when you play like a bunch of notes just to play a bunch of notes, that's like it. I don't know. I need to be moved. That for me, anyway, that's why I listen to music. And then maybe some people hear that shreddy stuff and they're moved. I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't do anything for me at all because because you might be the same way. I know that anybody can learn something technically. You can, if you spend enough time on something, you're going to be able to play any kind of thing. But not everybody can have a beautiful vibrato, such as
Gilmore,
or I think
Gary Moore.
I think Neil Sean has a beautiful vibrato. And just the way somebody's pick attack. John Mayer has a wonderful feel. BB King, like the way he can shake one note. Not everybody can do that, but most people can. If you spend enough time on something, can learn any kind of technical
it's
bullshit.
Practice, time.
Yeah,
it's just time.
Yeah, and it's not impressive. I don't. That's why I rarely listen to guitar music, to tell you the truth.
Well, you want to at least for me when I listen, I want to be able to I have to be able to sing the melody or follow, or at least I get lost when I start hearing all this shit because there's no melody. And that's what hooks me with music. I would never say that, that's the way it should be for everybody, because everybody do what the hell you want. But that's what hooks me, man. Good melodies,
Absolutely. So I'm the exact same way. I'm not impressed by flashiness.
Who's another guy like that? You ever listen to Ian Thornley?
I don't know that name.
Yeah, a Canadian guy. He's phenomenal. Yeah, and he's actually a bit of a shredder, but his melodies are just beautiful. I'm having a brain fart. What the? This is embarrassing that I'm. This is what happens when you have 900 interviews in a short period of time.
Yeah, how do you do that? Is that? Do you do something every day or several days?
Oh, I was, and Big Wreck is the name of Ian's band. When I first started the show, I did them every day because I knew I had a. I just wanted to build up a little bit velocity.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I did that almost like pretty much every day.
Do you find that a lot of people have the same story? Does it get boring? Or
not for me.
No, wildly different.
No, everybody has, I think in general, just my observation, you got like, I don't know, 7, 8 personality types. Period. And then we all have some flavors. If you're personality type number 4, you're going to have some flavors from maybe 1, 2, and 7. Right. So, but no, not everybody has the same story. And uh, what I get out of doing these interviews is, number one, it's always comforting to me to learn. I think we all live in a bubble a little bit, and nobody really knows. We all work hard, and nobody knows what other people are doing.
Right.
And
Right.
everybody, and it reinforces for me, hey man, everybody's got ups and downs, everybody's got highs and lows, and everybody's got to work real hard to get somewhere. But no, it never. No, I've had some guests that were boring, but that's not a function of their story. It's a function of them.
I guess I said that wrong. Not the same, because nobody's gonna have the same story. I guess I was just meaning like guitar players in general. There are a lot of similarities with our personalities, I would assume. But you're interviewing much more than just guitar players now.
Yeah, like 20% are not guitar players, and yeah, it's all across the board. I just like, for me, just getting around good people.
Sure.
So it's almost like if you had the same story, I wouldn't care, because I'm in the velocity of a good person, and so I'm getting good person energy, and fuck, that makes me feel like amazing.
Sure. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, everybody's story is slightly different. Everybody is slightly different too,
Sure.
So,
sure.
But I don't know how people listen to me all the time. That's what, that's my imposter syndrome thing. I'm like, okay.
Really? I've really enjoyed all the episodes that I've heard. You do a great job.
Well, it was funny. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah. But I had my wife and daughter. I said, listen, when Beth came on, I said, you guys got to listen to her story. Okay. You got to listen to her story, because we've had addiction issues in both of our, my wife and I families. And I think who hasn't?
Sure.
Nowadays. Yeah. It's not like, what is it? 10, 15% of the population, probably more nowadays, has had some struggle with substance abuse. Right. So, So
I'm sorry.
No, so, and my daughter's listening. She goes, "Oh, Dad, it was really nice." So Anne listens to my wife. Now we've been together 30 years, a little over. Yeah. And she's like, she goes, and she says, and we're brutal. We're very direct with each other. She goes, "Craig, how much can I listen to you?"
Oh, right.
And I said, "I get it," but I said, just listen to Beth. And I think she got through half the episode or something like that. But I get funny. It. She's with me all the time. So,
right.
And we bust each other's balls. So,
that's funny.
Yeah.
I need to go back and listen to the.
Listen to Beth's. It was pretty. And I'll tell you how nice she was. We ran out of time. I think she had another interview, and I said, and we're like halfway through. I said, "Beth, would you be okay we can finish it?" She goes, "Absolutely." And we set it up, and right then and there, and it was like, I thought was very kind of her.
That's great.
Yeah, because it was a long time around that interview.
My experience with her has been nothing but positive.
Yeah.
And
any cool stories from that experience?
Okay, let me think. You have to edit out long pause.
No, you're fine.
I'm trying to think. Nothing really cool. Like, it was just kind of, I just saw her just in the studio every day, all day. And it's just incredible watching her do what she does. Because she plays piano and
phenomenal keyboard
recording.
Player.
Yeah.
She's phenomenal keyboard player.
Yeah. She doesn't think she is. She's always like, "Sorry about this, guys. Sorry about my timing," or whatever. But she's great. Like, it feels her timing is really great, and it was just incredible watching her work, like being in the same room with her.
Yeah, I could see that being a good experience.
Great, and I'm very excited for this record to come out, because every song that we did, I was like, "This is amazing," and then this is going to be the best song on the record. Then the next song we would do, like, okay, this is the best song on the record. So it's going to be a really, really good record.
I'm looking for who wound up playing bass on that.
A guy named Steve Mackey.
Oh, I know Mackey. He's funny as hell. Oh my God.
Awesome. Yeah.
I had him on the show here. He when he came down with Joe, he went out and smoked cigars.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, he's a really cool guy. Yeah.
Very cool guy, great bass player. Actually, I met him he was in Wynonna Judd's band when I did that. And he's a fellow.
He's a West Virginia guy.
He's a fellow West Virginia guy.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Just like a handful of like bass players from West Virginia, I think, or
that's
Virginia.
right. Lee Hendricks.
Keith Horn.
Okay. Yeah. Lee Hendricks. He's a session guy. He's been in Eric Church's band for years, but I was in college with Lee Hendricks
in West Virginia.
But anyway, we were in a band together and all that stuff. But anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah, lots of people. Yeah, Brian Nutter, all kinds of.
I think the Wooten brothers.
Maybe I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think the Wooten brothers are
okay.
From there.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something
in that water there or something. Everybody from there. Mackey's was from a really rural place as well.
That's right. Yeah, I can't remember exactly where he grew up, but yeah, I guess when there's nothing else to do besides play records and
hunting and drinking beer.
Yeah, there was a lot.
That's horrible of me. Sorry, man.
But no, that's what it was.
That's
Except for
New York.
I missed out on the. I never went hunting in my life, oddly enough.
Really? And you're from West Virginia?
Yeah, from West Virginia. There was a lot of my childhood was mostly baseball and motorcycles. Like we lived. There was just surrounded by wilderness and trails, so we would just kind of every day after school was riding motorcycles
and baseball. I think Mackey was an athlete in high school too, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right.
Yeah. That's cool that you worked with him. He's such a good guy.
It was so great.
So you had a great band there.
Yeah, it was Steve Mackey. A guy named Greg Morrow playing drums.
Yeah, drummer. I had him on the show here. He's a phenomenal drummer.
He's amazing. He's incredible. Another guitar player named Doug Lancio. I think you said had Doug.
I had Doug on the show too. Yeah.
Yeah, Doug's really cool.
Yeah, very much.
A keyboard player named Kevin McKendry.
I know Kevin. Yeah, he was on here.
Oh, okay. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah. That's all a great Nashville crew.
It was very
and
good.
Kevin's a love. All these guys are really nice too.
Yes.
Kevin McKendry's a real sweet guy. Yeah.
Very nice. And talk about all these guys are just over the top
talented. I know.
Just ridiculously talented. So it was,
so it's like an all Nashville band, except for Anton Fig's not in Nashville. He's in New York.
No, he Anton wasn't on that one. He was
okay. He was on the last one.
That was the last one, right?
Okay.
And we recorded at Ocean Way here in Nashville.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd never been in that recorded in that big room before, but it's like the size of a massive basketball court, or maybe it's a church. So anyway, we're all in the same room, drums and everything. That was really cool.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was
a great crew on that. Wow.
It was amazing. Yes. And Doug Lancio's the guitar player. He's for some reason we never even spoke of what we were going to do. Like we'd hear the song, Beth would play it on piano, we'd just kind of walk over to our stations. He would start playing something, I'd start playing something. And we'd never discuss what we're going to do, but it would be totally opposite. Like we would just
That's nice.
Yeah. So we'd have a really cool thing going on and didn't have to discuss anything. It was like, okay, you're there, I'll be here.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, very cool dude.
Hey, so you've worked, besides Kevin, you've worked with some great producers, Rob Cavallo and Desmond
Cavallo,
Child. Yeah. Any takeaways? Like, what did you get out of those? Anything like those guys made some sort of impression, or I got to remember this?
Well, definitely with Rob Cavallo, I was at his studio was kind of on his property of this massive mansion in Calabasas, California. And I did a record called Hankel Teddy Bear with Meat Loaf, and Rob produced it. And I was out there for 9 weeks, which is
9 weeks to make a record?
Yes. That was just my part. I think it went on longer than that. Like that was with tracking, and I stayed behind and sang background on the whole record as well. So man,
it's only 20 weeks to make a baby, I think, right?
I know. So,
no, it was 40.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. 9 weeks of of working out at Rob's, and it was a really cool experience because it was back. This was back in 2011, something like that, and I guess the budget was just huge because
I was thinking, man, like when was this in 1980?
Yeah, I know. Because a song we would take a week on a song, and that
oh my
in Nashville,
God,
that does it usually takes
3 songs
an hour
in a day.
and a half. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so and I was working with Tim Pierce. Do you know Tim Pierce?
Yeah, I know Tim Pierce. Yeah.
So being in a room with Tim Pierce for several weeks and watching him work was fantastic.
He's done so many sessions, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that guy's just amazing. It was incredible watching him work. Like he's so fast and there's no mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Rob Cavallo, it was just a whole different way of working. It's that, I guess, the California way. It's like, let's take a week on this song. And he was just an encyclopedia of knowledge with rock music, especially Led Zeppelin. He knows, he can play guitar.
Who's this, Tim you're talking about, or Rob?
Rob Cavallo.
Yeah.
He's
Does he play instruments on the?
Rob is a really great guitar player. Yeah.
Okay.
And he can play Led Zeppelin tunes note for note, and very, very knowledgeable producer. It was a very cool experience working with him. And, he had just he'd done all of Green Day's records. So a lot of the gear that was in his studio was stuff made famous by some Green Day records, and some like the main amp I used, they call it the Dookie. It was a JCM 800 that
right. It's a great amp. It just wasn't for me,
I get it, yeah, because it's probably too loud, right? Like
it's too loud
to
for
get it
sure.
to do what you want it to do. It's got to.
I like overdriven natural tube overdrive. It wasn't really practical for that, and it just it didn't have the the bottom end. I don't know. I couldn't even.
I got you.
It just, it's a great amp. It just the Brown sound. This PV Delta Blues amp just gets it to me better.
I got you. Yeah. And it's probably, you said it was a lower wattage thing.
It's 30 watts with a 15-inch speaker. So it's a totally different animal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
but you're playing a JCM 800.
JCM 800. And then the acoustic that was there was the acoustic that Green Day used on Another Turn into.
Yeah.
What was that song called?
I don't know, but I know the song you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyway. Anyway, the amount of classic Les Paul
time of your life,
insane. Yeah, it was insane. And then while we were there, side note, Adam Lambert, somehow the Rob got asked to produce this Adam Lambert song for the 2012 movie soundtrack,
right?
And Rob was like, well, these guys are here already, let's just use this band. And Adam Lambert came in and we did the song called Time for Miracles, which is, you should look it up. It's came out. It's a really cool tune. That like Adam Lambert singing it. It's at the very end of the movie. And anyway, just a great tune. It's worth checking out.
Was that the name of the movie as well?
The movie was called 2012.
Oh, okay. You said that. Sorry.
Yeah, and the song was called Time for Miracles.
Oh, check it out.
Very, very cool. So I was going somewhere with that, or am I just rambling now? I think I'm.
No. Like you're going towards what the things you learned from some of the experiences you have with these guys.
Yeah. Just kind of the opposite of what Kevin Shirley did. And Kevin was just like, plug in, go, let's play. And then
and Rob was more measured and 9 weeks for one song. Yeah.
It was I think we ended up doing like 12 or 13 tunes, and it was something like that. And like I said, that wasn't all tracking. That was me staying behind, and there were several weeks of background vocals. And another side note, Justin Hawkins was out there for about 3 of those weeks because he had co-written some songs just from The Darkness.
I don't know that.
Okay, never mind. Anyway.
The Darkness. Yes, I know that band. What was their big hit?
Thing Called Love.
Okay, I know the band. I don't know any of the members of the band.
Never mind. He's got a really cool YouTube show right now on it.
Justin
maybe
Hawkins.
you're familiar with that.
No, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, like people always say, "Hey, do you know this guy in this podcast?" I don't have any time to do anything, man. I anytime I'm playing guitar, and I don't do that anywhere near enough.
That's
and
great.
Another reason I don't listen to podcasts is because I don't want to start overthinking myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Like people have said to me all the time, "Hey, man, you're kind of like Joe Rogan." I'm like, that's a compliment. Thank you, because I know he's successful. I've never listened to one of his shows because I don't want to start listening and saying, should I be doing this? Should I be doing? And, it took me like 50 something years to be like, okay with myself. And I don't want to start fucking with that.
Well, yeah.
Any more than I already have for those 50 something years before that,
Well, it's funny you said Joe Rogan, because I was trying to think of who you reminded me of. And yet I could see that. Yeah, or maybe it's the sound of your voice. Is he from the same area of New York? I don't know.
I don't know where he's from. I know nothing about him. All I know is that we have the same hair barber. That's about it.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about the guy. He's,
I see.
But I don't want to overthink stuff,
That's probably smart.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because the more you compare yourself to others, you definitely don't want to do that. And I've been guilty of that in the past, and I'm working on that now, but just not comparing myself to other situations, because everything's different.
I've learned nothing good comes out of that for me.
Nothing. No, it can't. It can't.
And also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Nope, you go.
I can't remember what the thought was
about comparing yourself. I said nothing good comes out of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Absolutely nothing good can come out of that. Because you're not living in gratitude at that moment, and
yes,
and that's kind of I've learned something. I not to get too personal, but I did I got sober a year and a half ago. It'll be a year and a half tomorrow.
Congratulations, man.
Well, thank you so much. It's certainly life changing. But your perception of everything in the world is different.
After sobriety, before sobriety.
After sobriety, yeah. You're open to seeing all the beauty in things that I never saw before. Like I would just notice all the notice all the negative things, and what I didn't have, or what that person. This person's working at a stadium today, and this they're posting on social media, and I'm
a better guitar player than him. I don't get it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Are you comfortable talking about that, sobriety? Can I ask you a couple of questions?
I would like to talk about that a little bit, because who knows, it might help somebody.
Well, let me tell you, I had a young lady on my show named Grace Askew. She's she used to be in Nashville. I think she's in Memphis now. Mm-hmm. And that's where she's from. She's like a fifth generation. I remember she told me she's like a fifth generation Memphian. Mm-hmm. And she actually wound up being on the show, but she told me, she said, I found out about your show because I was looking up musician sobriety stories, and I listened to a few of your shows, and it gave me permission to get sober.
Really?
So what? Wow. Yeah. So when people talk about this stuff, and let me tell you, we have playlists. The sober playlist is like the second most popular playlist.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I think people are inspired by this. I think getting sober is a scary thing. I think asking for help is incredibly fucking scary.
Yeah.
And I think that more people, when they hear other people were willing to do something like that, these scary things, and it worked, I don't think, I know that's extremely helpful. So, that being said, I don't want you or anybody else to be uncomfortable about anything that I
not at all.
Ask.
I would love to help anybody in any way that I can. I certainly would have loved to heard more stories or more success stories, but yeah, if you need help, there is help out there, and I definitely needed. I was at the point where as I was describing earlier, the lifestyle that I led, there's alcohol everywhere involved in music touring, and it just becomes part of life, and it ended up taking over my life, especially during the COVID time. It just got out of control there.
I think a lot of people went through that, experienced that same thing in COVID.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I'm not unique in that. I heard a lot of,
because you don't have to wake up the next day. You don't have to get to work.
Yeah, and the liquor stores were essential businesses.
Yes,
left over.
Right. Go figure that. The liquor store and the dealer on the corner.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, it's been like I said, it's a new thing for me. It's tomorrow will be a year and a half, assuming I make it till tomorrow. I hope so.
Yeah. I hope so.
But it's man, talk about life changing. Like I wake up at 5:30 a.m. now, and I never did that my entire life, my entire musician career. I'm still a musician, but was the total opposite of that. I would see the sunrise, but it was maybe going.
You were going to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened quite often.
Well,
so yeah. So
let me ask you this:
I'm enjoying life. Yeah.
To whatever extent you're comfortable, Randy, what prompted you to get so, like, what was bottom for you to whatever extent you're comfortable?
For me, it started with. I mean, I knew it was time. I was ready. It was just. It was ruling my life, and then it turned out that I had some pretty major health issues.
Oh wow!
As a result.
As a result.
Yeah, and my doctor was like, you have to stop right now, or you're at this point where you're on this edge where if you keep going, you're gonna be past the point of no return.
You won't be able to get that liver transplant.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it had gotten that bad. So
wow.
So, but even knowing that, I still didn't stop drinking totally. It was
sure.
Yeah, it was. That's how
I was going to say something else had to happen other than your doctor, because that's not the first guy that told you, hey man, I don't mean to sound funny, but I'm a little worried about you, or some version of that.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It just kind of came down to at first it was the health issue, and then one time towards the end of 2021, Jerry, my brother, came over and just said, I think you should go to rehab. And I was like, what? No way. And because first of all, my first thought was, aren't those like 50 grand or whatever? But anyway, the next day I was like, I think you're right. Let's do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I went to Cumberland Heights. I'm getting really deep here, really personal.
Go with whatever you're comfortable with.
But if who knows, it might help somebody. Yeah, I went to Cumberland Heights here outside of Nashville, and I came out and it totally changed my life. A lot of people go to rehab several times.
Yeah.
I was in there with guys that have been in there 7 times. And,
I had guys say, "Oh man, I quit drinking a lot of times."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so for some reason, I guess I was ready. It just it worked for me, and not going to, I'm still a work in progress, of course. But
of course, it's always a work in progress. Man.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got a lot out of it, even though I'm really getting too personal here. But I went at a terrible time. It was during COVID, so we were kind of in lockdown in there. It was it was just it was weird. Couldn't go out walking around it was a beautiful place, and you weren't allowed to go walking out in the trails for some reason. I don't know why. If the COVID would follow you out there and attack, I don't know. But anyway.
What I find weird is I see people walking around outside here alone.
Yeah,
with a mask on.
Right. I know.
Who are you going to get COVID from? Yourself?
Right.
I mean, that I don't get,
Yeah. Um, it was bizarre that we weren't allowed to go outside. But they were just following the rules and doing their best there at Cumberland
Yeah.
Heights. But yeah, I got a lot out of it, and still hanging in there.
Did you work a program? Did you work like AA?
I am kind of in the process of that. Like I don't really do the meetings, but I do the reading every morning, and yeah, it's definitely a thing I work on every day.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. That's what you were talking about. Okay.
No. This is like just daily affirmations. This is geared more towards, the ACA, adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. So It's just strengthening my recovery. I'm assuming, I know there's books like this for program for AA and NA as well.
Yes. I've tried to read as many as I can, or as I could. And I'm, like I said, I'm still in the process, and I'm just an infant in terms of time of sobriety here, but yeah, it is strange to talk about, knowing that this is this is going to be heard. But like if it helps anybody, great.
I think it's really important that people get it out there, because I think you have a lot of people that don't think it's possible to get sober.
That's true, because there are times when it can seem impossible. I remember at the time thinking, like, there's just no way I could ever stop. It's just too much a part of my life. And everywhere you go, everything I do revolves around alcohol.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like there's no way. But it's surprisingly easier than I expected. Like touring and all that. Like I thought it was going to be really difficult to tour again.
Right.
Being sober. And it really wasn't. It's just my social aspect is a little different. Like I don't hang out. I can't hang out after the show. I kind of just go to bed after. Go to bed.
Well, you can't hang out where there's alcohol freely.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you can, but it's like that's at 1.5 years in.
It's little
asking a lot. I don't think that's.
Yeah.
I think you're smart.
Yeah, I just kind of stay away from it, and it's no problem at all. I'm so used to going to bed really early now that it's no issue. And nobody ever on earth says, "Oh, come on, man, why don't you have one drink?" Or like nobody ever says that.
That's really good to hear. I mean,
yeah,
that almost sounds like something kids would say.
Exactly. Like, but I think people worry, maybe, like, are people going to think it's weird that I'm not holding a drink at this party or whatever? And I find that people don't care. Nobody
cares. I know a guy when he went to he started going to program, and he said the thing that he got the most out of it, he said that I realized I was always worried about what people think of me. And he goes, I realized no one's going to bed thinking about me. I had this point. He goes, no one ever is going to bed thinking about, that was really helpful for him.
I see. Yeah. That's really, that's a great lesson to learn. And I think that was something I'd learned late in life too, that people aren't paying attention to you as much as you think they are. It's not
right. They're just, no one's going to bed thinking about you. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, everybody's got their own, fucking laundry list of stress, drama, tasks, shit to do list.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you just kind of have to worry about, keeping your side of the street clean and then, seeing what happens. But, I know life has been just nothing but, I should say nothing but it's been just lots of positivity. And like I said, like seeing the beauty in the world and things that I never saw before. And I'm available. I'm present, and I'm ready for anything at any time. Not anything, but you know what I'm talking about. Like I feel prepared, and I say yes to things that I never would have said yes to. I probably wouldn't have said yes to this a couple years ago.
Really?
Probably not.
Interesting.
I don't know. I feel like that I used to just avoid a lot of things unless it was something I was very comfortable with, you know.
Really interesting.
Yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like I was, you know, falling down drunk at all. It wasn't that case.
No, but I think it's a misperception. People,
yeah.
I think in the old days, you know, I don't think that's if you've never been around people that drink, then you know that's not
right.
You don't have to be falling around drunk to say, man, you know, there are plenty of people that are functional alcoholics. Absolutely. All over the world, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's surprising. Yeah. But where was I going? I keep losing my train of thought. But and not to say that all the work that I did in the past, is that where I was going? My past, like when I was drinking, it wasn't like I was putting out bad work or doing half-assed stuff. Like I was still doing the best I could do, but I just think now it's just this much better. You know, it's just like a few percent better. Like everything I'm doing now, I feel like it's just better in every way.
Yeah, and it's also probably a few percent better every month.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, the compound interest effect of like, you know, your life is a few percent better every month. That's pretty damn good.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like a success every day. Yeah. So
awesome, man. Well, you are every day. Every day you stay sober, you are a freaking success, man.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
What prompted you to start getting up at 5:30? Like, is that when you go to the gym, or like that's so you establish some structure. See, that's another thing I think, like, and I give people that get sober so much credit for this, because, you know, you go from having no structure other than around, you know, your drug of choice to like, I'm up at 5:30 every day. Whoa, that total, you know, diametrically opposite.
Right. Now, when I say 5:30, like I basically wake up when the sun rises. So it depends. This time of year, it's raising around 5:30, but it's generally more like 6:30. But I just when I went to rehab, the schedule was getting woken up at 6:30, and you're by 7:10 we're in some kind of meeting situation. So I just fell in love with the morning. Because I guess I've missed
a lot of mornings.
30 years. Yeah. Like my entire, even as a child,
morning is
like
12:30.
Exactly. Like even as a child, my mom will tell you like they had to like pour buckets of water on me to get me to get up and go to school and stuff like that. I was just never a morning person.
Dude, maybe that's why you started drinking. That's pretty fucking severe.
I know. I was like, I know this is traumatic. But
oh my God,
I think that only happened like once.
Couldn't you give me a gentle shake? I mean, like,
right. They've probably tried. I think I missed the bus so many times that they were like, God damn. But I've always been a late night thing, but somehow I love the mornings now. It's just when I get so much done by 9 a.m. It's when I get all my creative work done, and if I've been working on a project from home, I'd love getting started on it. I do I like watching the sunrise with a cup of coffee. That's my favorite thing. And then
that's that is so relaxing.
Oh, it's great. And for some reason it takes away some stress. Like I would always feel like I was running behind. Like when you're getting up at 10 or 11, it's like half the day's gone. I just kind of felt, it would just feel like I was behind, and I got very little accomplished. Now, I feel like I get more accomplished by, like I said, 9 or 10 in the morning now than I used to get done in a week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And, like I said, and creatively, everything's better. But yeah, I just love the structure of getting up that early. Now staying up late, when I have gigs, it's a little weird. It's
because you're getting in late, and then
right, yeah. Because I think I was asleep last night by 9:30.
Oh, awesome! Oh my God!
Yeah,
I'd love to get 8 hours every night, man. That's you feel
nice.
so good when you sleep 7-8 hours a night. Oh my
man.
God!
Yeah, that makes a difference. Yeah, it's really bizarre to have slept 8 hours and you're like, it's only 5:30 in the morning. Holy shit! And so anyway,
that's great.
That part's great. But anyway, I'm making it sound like this big, rainbows and.
No, I think it is rainbow. Man, dude, you've drank for 30 years and now you're not. That's rainbows, man.
Well, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I think that is
sometimes I
rainbows,
think
man.
like, well, all I did was just quit something, but it's something that's like, it's just such a huge part of our society. And it's strange. It's because it's more dangerous than anything out there, right? Really. I mean, alcohol, and it's so accepted in our society. Right? Like, would you agree that it's more dangerous than heroin or?
Well, I do know that alcohol withdrawals are literally the most devastating withdrawals. That, and I hear from alcohol and supposedly Xanax.
Okay.
Two of them. Yeah. Two of the most. Those are the two top most devastating things to withdraw from.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, and I guess that's what a hangover is, right? It's a.
I guess you're right. Yeah. That is what a hangover is.
From what I understand, but
but
yeah, it's just everywhere you go, and it's okay, and it's almost a weird if you. It's one of the most dangerous drugs in the world, but it's weird if you don't do it. It's like, it's odd. Like you're the odd man out if you're part of the.
I don't know. I know plenty of people that don't drink.
I do now as well. Yeah, and it's but
it was just it's the crowd you were hanging out with.
That's true.
Why you're hanging out with a bunch of fucking alcoholics, man. Of course they're going to be like. Of course they're going to be like, you're not drinking,
Yeah.
But like I know a lot of people that just don't drink. I drink socially.
That's great.
And I never think, and I'm very lucky because I have addiction in my family. And let me tell you, I wake up almost every day and say thank you to my higher power because I don't have to, because I was lucky that there's other things that have fucked me up, but that's not one of them. My brother
amazing.
died from that,
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And so, well, I've had throughout my family. So I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, and the only thing I was guilty of, I was a workaholic for many, 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 many years, and thank God that's not physically damaging. But I missed a lot of,
I guess.
Well, I missed a lot of fun in my life that I should have had a lot more joy while I was doing that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And now, and honestly, doing this show helped me get a lot more balance in my life. I don't know why, but I know why. It's because of listening to all of you guys that did something because you loved it.
Yeah.
And I've never done anything that outside of this show. Yeah. I'd never done anything in my life for joy. For joy. I wasn't programmed. My childhood was so dark. I didn't think you did think, I didn't,
Wow.
I wasn't like, happiness was not,
it wasn't
I didn't know you're supposed to be happy. I just didn't know you're supposed to be happy. I didn't know you're supposed to be happy.
Really?
It sounds stupid.
Yeah.
How would I know? I didn't know that.
I think I know what you're talking about. Because there's, you almost feel bad if things are going well. Is that
undeserving?
Sure. Yeah.
Undeserved. I just nothing was ever happy when I was younger. So I never, it wasn't like, I'm not saying this like I feel bad about it because I didn't know any better. Right. I didn't, I literally didn't know any better. I didn't like, what do you mean? Like happiness? What does that mean? You work and you work hard. And that's what I thought. Like, no, but you can be happy too. And I didn't learn that till I did this show. And that's why I'm so committed to this show.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've learned so much from this show, from listening to people's stories.
Well,
I almost feel like I'm felt selfish sometimes for doing it.
Well, I could see it being therapeutic because I kind of had almost forgotten that we're doing a podcast here. I was enjoying I was just talking to you.
So I likewise.
Yeah. So that I guess you're doing a good job then.
I don't know. Thanks. I don't know.
It just became a conversation because I was worried about that actually because I usually just kind of clam up but now I've just been rambling like crazy.
No, you're good, man. You've been rambling. You're fine.
Okay.
No, you're rambling at all.
Enjoy it. Well,
but man, congratulations, and I'm so happy for you.
Well, thank you so much. It's
keep up the good work, one day at a time, man.
Yeah, I think good things are coming, and because they everything's been I'm on the upswing, as they say. So everything's going better and better. Like you said, there's 1% better every day, and
that's a lot of percent better. Come 6 months and then 9 and 12 months.
That's true. I'm going to be like 2,176 times better. So
good.
That will make me
right on. Awesome. Whatever. No. It's now I forgot what I was going to say. I lost track of my thought, but that I've learned so much from all you guys. It's been amazing. I mean, yeah,
that's excellent.
The happiness thing is probably one of the most important things I learned in my life. Because I don't do anything now unless I'm happy about it and I'm like joyful about it.
That's wonderful.
I do nothing.
That's incredible that you're at that point. Like I can't say I'm there yet, where I only have.
I've used myself with that longer than you have. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
I'm a little older than you. Just a little,
Not really.
I'm 59.
I'm 53. So.
But you look a lot younger than I do.
well, I'm far away from the thing. I've got but no, that's not true.
No, you look.
I do feel good for 53, though. I will say that.
Yeah,
feel good.
How much better do you feel sober now? I can't imagine like how much better were you working out when you were?
I was
really?
up until the when COVID shut down all the gyms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think
that sucked.
I didn't do anything for that whole year and a half, 2 years. I was a mess. But before that, it was still a big part of my life. I just didn't make it to the gym until 2 p.m.
Right. That's amazing that is amazing that you that's commitment.
It was, yeah. It's always been a big part of my life. And I never, like I said, I wasn't like a crazy drunk person where I just couldn't function at all during the day. But
that's a myth about people that are alcoholics.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be like, it just has to be something that you can't handle. I think. I don't know. I shouldn't really say that because I'm speaking out of turn.
No, not at all. Not at all. But no, it's certainly always been something important to me, the exercising, and now more so than ever. And of course, I love hiking. Do you ever? I guess I don't know if you have any hiking down there. And
no, Florida's the flattest state.
That's right.
Florida's the flattest state in the country, man. Like I think the biggest hill is on the turnpike. It's like 25 feet.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's totally flat here. Yeah. No, but I walk a lot. That's the only thing I do.
Okay, well at least you can do that all year round.
Yeah, I do that I walk a lot. Yeah,
that's great.
In fact, during COVID, I had a problem with my leg, and I wound up. Long story, but I my leg was not working. And the only thing, and it was a terrible nerve pain, sciatic nerve pain. And the only thing I could do, I don't know how I even figured this. I know it was vanity. I couldn't go to the gym, and I couldn't live with myself not exercising. So I forced myself to walk. And oddly enough, the only thing that made it better was walking, but it wouldn't make it better. It was like, so I a lap around the block here is like 2/3 of a mile. By the third lap, I was walking upright and nobody would even know there's something wrong with me. But the first lap, my wife, I remember she went out one day. She goes, "Oh my God, I saw you walking." She goes, "I felt so bad." She goes, "You look like an 80-year-old just had a car accident." I said, I couldn't move. It was like hobbled up. And I wound up walking 5 miles a day because that was the only thing that made me feel good.
Wow.
I mean, that was it. So I just would walk. I couldn't work
That's
very
incredible.
much. It was
Yeah.
nuts. And
Wow.
yeah, and people say walking, you got to do intense cardio. I've never been leaner in my life doing that.
Really? Just from
I was
steady
shredded,
walking? No
and
kidding.
I was
believe it.
walking at a snail's pace.
Wow.
I would, this was not speed walk because I couldn't.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So, and I learned from that, slow and steady. It's the.
Yeah.
I always had also, like, I had a punishment thing, like, unless I'm killing myself at something, I couldn't excel at it. And doing that, I learned, well, that's bullshit. You just got to do
Right.
something every day. It's time in, it's consistency, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah.
And so that allowed me to realize that I could be much better at guitar. I just got to be consistent, practice every day.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where you mentioned when we first spoke that you've been playing like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. So 6 years maybe now. Yeah.
That's great. So you're right at a level where everything's new, but you're good enough to enjoy what you're playing.
Yeah, I'm starting to like, wow, I'll learn a new song on YouTube and I'm like, holy shit, this is getting easier. I can't believe, and it almost feels like a superpower, man. Like,
sure.
Wow. And I'm lucky. I'm very blessed. I have an excellent ear.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That goes
a really good ear.
way.
Yeah. And I'm not unaware of that. And I'm very grateful.
That's great.
But
that's huge.
So I'm at that period now where things are like, I mean, I still,
clicking.
Yeah, things are clicking. I still have a long way to go, of course, but, my goal is sometime by the end of this year, I hope to get out and play with other people.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Cause I learned from you guys, again, that's how you're going to get better. You can only get so good playing by yourself in the house.
That's true. Yeah. Doing the, playing any kind of gig situation is, it's totally different. Cause even though something you've worked up at home a million times, it's going to be totally different when you can't hear yourself properly or when you're out in front of a crowd doing it.
Just interacting with other musicians. I mean, I played
girls
music
throwing
as a
their
kid.
panties all over your.
I think I missed that window.
Yeah, actually, I did too. I just made that up. Yeah.
I think I missed that window, but So I'm like probably a solid intermediate player.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and I love it, and it's just the joy I get out of playing guitar all the time. It's like, outside of hanging out with my wife, nothing makes me happier than playing
that's
guitar,
excellent.
Man.
Well, in a photo I saw of you, you had a blue. Is that a sure?
No, it was at NAMM.
Oh, okay.
My old guitar teacher was playing a booth at NAMM, and he had this guitar.
Okay.
And he goes, "Hey, Craig, check it out." And I started playing it, and he took a picture of it at NAMM. So people say, "Oh man, you played at NAMM?" I'm like, sort of, but not really.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I was just at NAMM. But you know what? You know how many people tell me, "God, you look so happy in that photo."
Yeah.
And I was not because I was just playing guitar. It felt great. Yeah. I was so happy.
I love it.
Yeah, I was so happy.
I wish I need to get that back. But because I was thinking of the other day how guitar has too many damn choices. Like
tough
you have either like a Strat sound, like as far as this sound,
mm-hmm.
everything's going to be a Strat sound, a Les Paul sound, a Telly's, and then you have your pedal board, and then you have what kind of your amp and what kind of speakers you have and the head. It's just an insane amount of choices involved.
Yeah, which makes it different, especially at your level where you're keenly aware of the subtleties of each. You can understand in your head before you do it. Okay, well, if I turn this, fuzz pedal knob up from 5 to 7, you're much more sensitive to that than I am.
That's true. Yeah.
And it makes it so you have more choices now. So it's like click, click, click,
Yeah.
The number of choices you have to make are tougher than me because I'm ignorant of the subtleties.
Well, yeah, and maybe those choices are unnecessary now that I'm thinking about it, because simplicity sometimes is the way to go.
Yeah, but when you're playing a session,
that's true. Like you kind of expected to be able to handle any kind of thing that gets asked for, and
Well, that's how all
That's
these
true.
guys come in with sessions. They're coming in with like 3 or 4 guitars,
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
pedal boards, because you don't know what's called upon you, and you don't know what what you're going to need to get the right sound, and you need to
Yeah,
be
like
like fully armed.
that's true. It's funny, speaking of, well, the Beth Hart record, that because this just happened, so it's fresh in my mind. But I think I took 10 guitars down there.
Oh my
And
God! Wow.
3 amps, and because I didn't know what
you
exactly
don't know
what to expect. Because when we get the we get the demos, but it's just a piano vocal, and so I
and
ended
that
up
doesn't tell you anything about what the
production of
real
the song.
vibe is going to be, right?
Exactly, like it could go anywhere. But I ended up using this a Jerry Jones Longhorn bass. It's like a 6-string. It's kind of a well, it's a 6-string guitar, but it's an octave down.
So it's like a baritone guitar.
It's like a baritone guitar, but it's a full octave. And I ended up using that on just about every song. And it's like this, because when it's run through distortion, and it's just this crazy sound that I've never heard before, and it just
that was probably a surprise that you wound up using that guitar so much.
It was, because I used it on one song. Just I'm going to bring this just for the hell of it, and Kevin said, "Oh, that sounds cool." And then the next song is like, "Hey, bring out that thing again." And then the next one, like, so it just kind of, it's just it's a baritone Longhorn bass run through all kinds of shit, and it sounds pretty cool.
That's awesome, man.
I don't know how I ended up there, but I guess we're talking about the amount of instruments and choices that you have to make with guitar, and these singers show up with just themselves.
Yeah,
and I was I was missing that too.
It's not fair.
Something I was on the other day, and I'm like, yeah, Paul just spent like what he has here is probably costing like $50,000, and you walked in and you have a cup of tea. And that's all you had to spend. Like, that was your investment.
No, man, yeah, that's very
kidding,
true.
of course, but because I'm jealous that you know.
No, it's tough to. I've had so many session guys on the show, as you know, but I think that's a tough. I mean, that's a tough gig. You got to like have a Swiss Army knife of everything.
Absolutely, and I'm certainly not the A-list session guy in Nashville at all, because I've spent most of my time on the road. But so those guys that do it every day, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, they have to have everything available at any time. But then again, with the Nashville stuff, it's not going to be that diverse, right? Like, it's not going to be that crazy.
No, but you still got to invent something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You still got to invent something. I had 2 guys. I've had a lot of session players. Rob McNelly. He's an excellent.
I do. Player. Yeah. Actually. I met him fairly recently. Actually,
he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he's great. He does a lot of work with Kevin Shirley as well.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I think he's. Yeah. The last record Kevin did in town, he used Rob. But yeah, I've never gotten to play with him, but I hear nothing but great things.
Oh, great player. And then Jeff King. Do you know Jeff?
I do, but it's been a long time since I've seen him.
He's another super talented guy. He does a lot of touring, but not a lot. He tours with Reba and with Brooks and Dunn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's but cool. He does. When he's not there, he's in the studio all the time.
I see. Yeah. But I'm certainly not, one of those everyday master session guys.
Sure. Well, there's not many of them, man.
Yeah.
There's not many of them.
But
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, but I do a lot of stuff from my home studio here, tracks. So if anyone ever needs any tracks, hit me up on my website or Instagram or whatever.
Absolutely. I'll tell people where to get a hold of you too in a few minutes.
All right.
Let me add, and hey man, thank you for sharing all the stuff about your getting sober.
Oh,
and I wish you nothing but the best of luck with that, man.
Hopefully it wasn't too heavy, and but no, I'm happy to talk about it because it's one of my greatest accomplishments.
Yeah, sure.
I can't say the word accomplishment, but But anyway, yeah.
It's plus you're
So,
paying of
I'm very
service
proud
to
of it.
others, man.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
You're being of service to others by
Well,
sharing
yes,
that.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
if it helps anybody to hear something about it, then that's great.
It does. I get emails and stuff all the time on social media that, hey, I heard this guy. Thank you for doing that. I just got sober, or I was struggling, and I listened to that and I heard it at the right time. So yeah, it does help. It will be.
Well, that's
somebody.
excellent. No, yeah. Thanks for letting me.
Oh, for sure, man.
Ramble about it. Yeah.
No, you're totally rambling. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Since we started talking about gear, what's your go-to guitar right now? And what other 2 guitars round out your top 3?
I'm pretty boring when it comes to I gravitate towards Strat guitars, Strat style. So so I end up having my main one is it's just an American Deluxe Fender Strat. It's got a humbucker. It's a Jeff Beck model humbucker in the bridge because I just
is that the beige one in that photo you sent me?
The beige.
I think that was single coil. It was like a rosewood neck, and it was like a turtle. What is it? A turtle shell?
Oh yes, yes. I don't have it in this room, but yes, it would have been that photo. Yeah, it's kind
that was a cool looking guitar.
Yeah, it's it's just a great workhorse guitar. I love it. I don't have it out here either, but I have an SG that I kind of end up recording with most of the time.
Tell me about that.
It's just a straight up SG. I bought it from another West Virginia guy named Brian Nutter, who was in Keith Urban's band. There's Keith Urban again.
There you go.
Keeps coming up. And he had I don't know if he had it wired this way or if he bought it this way, but you can roll out the humbucker pickup. Like you can kind of either make it totally a single coil or roll in some humbucker. So
I've never seen a roll-in switch. I've seen like a push-pull.
Yeah, same here.
That switches it to a single coil, but that's really...
It's pretty interesting. Like,
that's
so
a
you
cool
can go
mod.
like... It's really cool. I need to ask him where he did that because it's very cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
combinations. Yeah. So that's why I use that all the time because it's for an SG, it's just crazy versatile. So that, and then I bought a PRS Strat this year. PRS started making the Silver Sky.
The John Mayer.
Yes. There was I get made fun of about that I have
the John Mayer thing.
Yeah, but it's a really great guitar, and it's kind of been my favorite one this year.
So does that sound like a regular? Do the pickups on there sound like a regular Strat?
It does, and oddly enough, that's I can't use that. Like say a bridge pickup on a Strat, I can't use it. It's just too thin. I always have to change the bridge pickup out. And yes, this one was just a straight up single coil situation, and it's very real Stratty. Like if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So what do you change? What pickups do you put in? What do you like?
In this case, I just put in a Seymour Duncan Lil 59. Like it's a humbucker in the size of a
I know.
Single coil. I just slapped it in there to see what happened, and I like it. So yeah.
Do you do that work yourself? Like do you do okay.
I'm worthless when it comes to that kind of thing.
It's another business, man. It's not.
Oh yeah,
you can't casually just repair pickups, man. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Like I think I tried it, and it's just over my head. I'd rather leave that to the pros.
Yeah, you have to like that stuff. It's really meticulous work, and unless you're enjoying that, I don't think that would be something you want to do.
Yeah, but I hear that it's very easy to do. I've just never taken the time to do it.
Yeah, I hear the same thing. I wouldn't even think about it. I just have no interest. I don't even like changing my strings. I do that, but I mean, it's not. I don't like it. You know.
No, it's no fun.
No, there's nothing.
Especially when I had the same guitar tech for I guess it was 14 years or whatever. And,
oh my God, with me.
With me, yes. I never had to change.
Oh my God, you have to change strings.
I was so spoiled. Now I have to change my own strings like an animal. I have to I have to I have to carry my guitars into wherever I'm playing. It's ridiculous.
That is nuts, man. That's crazy.
I don't get it.
That's nuts.
But yeah, the string changing thing. I used to change string, or Charlie, my tech, we used to change strings every 2 shows, I think.
Wow.
And now I get as long as I can out of.
Hell yeah! I mean, it's like an hour of wasted time.
Exactly, and
yeah,
they're making like Diodario makes some great strings these days where they'd last a long time. So.
I use what do you call it? Now I'm having a brain fart.
Ernie Ball?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I just totally guessed.
The Slinkies, man, and I love them, and they last a long. I mean, they're fine. I really like them.
Those are great. Yeah.
What are you playing out of amps? Like I see a Fender back there. What do you primarily use?
That's not really. That's another one, but it's a backup. But I mainly use a Fender Bassman. It's 1967 Bassman into usually a matchless cabinet.
Okay.
T-Trill's matchless cabinet, but I also have some Fender cabs. I ended up selling a bunch of amps recently. All the stuff that I toured with, I just didn't use anymore. I had a bunch of Marshall heads and what else? Just it sold all kinds of things. But I've come down to just a 60s Fender Bassman. It's the most simple amp in the world. It's literally just there's volume, bass, treble. I think it's it.
That's it.
And it's just a platform, just a clean platform for all my pedals. It takes pedals better than any amp that I've ever had before, and it's the best sounding amp I've ever had. Which is crazy. So yeah.
Well,
I have a few of those.
I saw one yesterday. I had to drop the PV Delta Blues to the repair guy.
Yeah.
He had a Fender Bassman there. It was like a tweed looking amp. I think it was a combo, looked like a 212. Have you ever heard that, or do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
It was it was a newer amp.
Okay, that was probably the reissue.
The solid state?
No, I think they're tube, I believe. And I think they have like four 10s in them. Is that correct?
Okay. It could have been. It could have been.
But I like those a lot too. They're the combo, the new.
Okay.
If it's what I'm thinking of, those are really good. If you like, do you like to get dirt from your amp, or do you do that through pedals?
No, I like to have a master and a volume and get something that can get really dirty.
Okay, gotcha.
And ideally at 2 channels, even if there is one.
Okay, yeah, that's the way to go. Of course, then you have to use an effects loop and all that if you use delays or reverbs. I kind of stopped doing that just out of I like simplicity.
I don't use an effects loop because I wouldn't even know what to do with that. I just plug the pedals in. I don't use pedals very often. I do have a delay, but I don't know. Maybe I'm probably doing it all wrong. So
not really. No, there's no wrong. I think if the amp's distorted and you put delay in front of it, the delay sounds a little wacky.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, but I usually don't use delay with distortion.
Okay, then there you go. Then
like I practice some Pink Floyd songs with the delay.
Okay.
And so there's no distortion. That's a clean sound, you know.
Oh, okay. Then
that with my
golden.
You know, my Phase 90. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Speaking of Phase 90, I think Eddie Van Halen would put delay pedals in front of his dirty amp, and that's part
interesting.
Of the sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
me and Eddie.
That's right. Yeah. So, well, have I kind of talked your ear off?
No. I have a few more questions. Tell me your worst gig ever.
Oh gosh. Worst gig ever. I saw this question and I couldn't think of anything specific, but I've had a worst period ever of of gigs. I don't want to say who the artist was but
no, tell me off the air. That's fine because I'll be curious to know. But
okay, just it was something fairly recent, actually.
Oh, I think you
Nashville.
told me.
Okay, I might have told you that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Nashville-based act, and just county fairs and porta potties and dirt and mud. That's the way I describe it. Like just a bunch of porta potties and mud, and that's
Yeah.
like a summer of that, and that just that was the soul crushing.
Yeah. I can see you not enjoying that, especially
No.
you have, it's like I said, it's a blessing and a curse to have that frame of reference.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the last thing I did, I was working with some really young guys, not really young, I mean, late 20s or something, and they were just loving it. They're like, this is awesome, because they'd never seen anything else.
They don't have a frame of reference.
Exactly. Yeah. And not to sound like I'm not. Well, it sounds like I'm a jaded old dude, but it's not that.
I get it.
But
I get it.
Yeah.
Look, you've been flying private jets for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then like you're in the state fair. It's an adjustment, man.
It can be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm kind of staying away from that kind of thing now. I'm saying no to those types of things.
Good.
So,
Good.
Yeah.
To tell me you're I'm
okay,
sorry. Was there something else?
Oh, no. I was just opening a cough drop.
Tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs.
That's a really tough one, because it changes all the time, right?
Just for right, yeah, just for now.
Like the
just
top
for now.
Things that I can think of, artist wise, it would have to be probably Elvis Costello's Mighty Like a Rose. I love that record, and this is just something that I've been listening to recently.
Yeah,
probably Fiona Apple, Win the Pawn, and then Jeff Buckley, Grace.
That's a good. All those are good records.
Just great songs. No flashy guitars.
No. So, Grace is a pretty moving record.
That's just it's fantastic.
Yeah,
that guy's he was incredible.
All right, man. A couple more questions. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
That's a good question. And in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. If you would have, when I was a kid, if you would have told me you're going to get to be on stage with Sammy Hagar playing Freebird, and I did that a few years back. He showed up to some a Meat Loaf show, and
he's everywhere. That guy's ubiquitous.
I know.
He's like shows up everywhere. That dude.
Yeah, he
really does.
He's a social dude.
Him and Dave Grohl.
Yeah, Dave Grohl's everywhere.
Yeah,
yeah. He is. Would you say they're the most popular rock band?
The Foo Fighters,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about who's popular. I don't. I don't. Yeah, I think they're pretty. I mean, they've got to be one of the top ones. Also, too, there's a lot of younger bands I just don't know that are pretty popular.
True. That's true. Yeah, it just seems like they're the.
But they're always playing big stadiums. They're not playing. They're not playing a shed on the weekend. They're playing massive stadiums.
Yeah,
massive
and not
arenas.
many rock bands get to do that anymore.
Yeah, not every day, not for every show.
Exactly. Yeah. So what was the question? I'm sorry. Totally.
How's your life been different than what?
Has it been different? Yes, and I guess yes. But not in a bad way. I mean, I guess I just wanted to be. There was a time when I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to play my songs, sing my songs, and then I did the band thing where I wanted to be more of a creative person and not necessarily a sideman, and I kind of have made my living as a sideman, making other people rich. And,
sure.
And
man, I hear this is a very common thing.
Yeah, and it's just something like it's certainly not complaining, but because when you get the offer to do something like that or have an opportunity to do that, you take it. You don't want to turn that down.
Sure.
Or some people do, and pursue their own thing. I didn't do that. But yeah, it's different in that way. I wish I would have gone a more creative route. You know, I think I'm doing that now, actually, more so than ever. Even though it's, you know, it's just going to be for me and the few people who might want to hear it. You know,
Sure.
But yeah, I guess it's different in that way that I've been a sideman.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. But that's okay.
And I've heard that from a lot of guys. You know, like they wanted to be an artist, and they realize if I want to eat, I can't be an artist at the same. You know, at the same time, it's just you got to make a choice.
True, and it takes a certain personality to be a frontman.
Yes,
and I don't have that.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I think a lot of things have to come together, personality wise and environment wise, for that to work. And I think
absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
Two questions, and you toughest decision you ever had to make?
Oh. That's a really tough one. And I think the sad part is, it's not sad, but I lived a life where, I'm saying this as, you know, a past thing. I didn't make decisions. Like, and when I did, I didn't trust them. Because I was like, was I drinking? Was I hungover? And so many decisions were made for me as a musician, you know, it's a touring thing. Like, somebody says, be in the lobby at 3 p.m. and then at the you know, whatever, be ready for sound check at 3:30. And then I guess what I'm trying to get at is I'm terrible at making huge decisions, and I can't even think of the one I'm thinking about. It's too personal to even to go into.
That's fine.
Even though
no worries. You got deep enough.
I've gone like, I've laid all kinds of stuff out there. I can't believe I did that, but no, I'm kidding.
No, it's great, man.
But yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
Get you. I'll free you from the pain.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Of that question, biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been intentional, and how much has just been a part of aging, natural part of aging?
Well, I think, of course, the biggest change would come from the being sober and just kind of saying yes to most things. And you know, I don't know. That's not part of the personality, but just.
So that was intentional, just intentional changes you've made.
Intentional changes, yes, yes, and you know, I don't want to miss anything anymore, and I kind of wake up as early as I can and try to get as much out of life as I possibly can. So that's awesome, that's man. Different, yeah. But that all Randy, personally, yeah.
Man, I can't thank you enough for your time, and thanks for being so cool to hang with and for being so open and sharing stuff. Let me tell people where to find you. First of all, Randy's got a YouTube channel, so it'd be great if you could subscribe to that. It's Randy Flowers Music. His website, you can find him online at randyflowersmusic.com. If you're interested in working with Randy on playing some tracks on your record, you can contact him either through the contact tab on his website, again, randyflowersmusic.com, or you can hit him up on Instagram, which is same, Randy Flowers Music, or Facebook, which is Randy Flowers. And if you're interested in taking some Zoom lessons from him, again, same thing, website or his Instagram, and hook up with him. And if you wanted to play tracks, you know, send him some information, send him your songs, give him some information, what you're looking for out of him, and, you know, why you think he'd be a fit. This way he can get back to you with some, you know, logical answers. If you're looking for shred metal, you know, he can make that decision of, you know, maybe might not be the best person to serve you on that. So just give him some tracks, let him know what you're doing, what you're looking for. Dude, is there anything else that you want to sell? Can I can I pimp you out anymore here, man?
I think that's it. No, I appreciate your time, Craig. I had a good time.
Thank you, man.
Fun.
Thank you. Hang on 1 second and we'll wrap up. And thank
Okay.
you so much for everything, man. I really mean it.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Randy Flowers for sharing his time with us and giving us a little piece of his life. And most important, man, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out.